He's the son of a demon king, a prince who could wipe out entire clans without hesitation, and for that, he gets punished with exile to the human world. Now he's stuck living as a normal high schooler, dealing with people and everything he hated. His demonic power reacts to evil, and the human world has plenty of it. So while he's supposed to serve his punishment quietly, he keeps getting dragged into trouble, using forbidden power in the one place he was never meant to unleash it. One day, a demon named Ravi's Vindika killed everyone in the Hilt clan's castle. The last one who remained alive began to curse him and asked if he thought he could get away with all these deaths. Ravis asked in response if he thought he came here without knowing what the Hilt clan, had done. This was not a mass murder at all, but an execution committed by Vindika. After these words, he finished him off too. But this mass execution was fraught with consequences. He was taken into custody and brought before the Demon King and his father, Gamadair Vindika. He was very dissatisfied with his action and asked how he dared to commit all these deeds. He was a fool who knew nothing. He ordered him to present evidence of treason, not a clan exterminator. He dared to disturb the order in the demon realm. This time he went too far. MC indignantly asked, "What does this mean?" The evidence was right in front of him all along. He himself knows that the Hilt are hopeless idiots. Because of those old idiots who cling to the Hilt line, he couldn't punish them. How many crimes have they committed and not turned a blind eye to it? The demons glared at him, and the king said that there are strict procedures governing executions, and his petty judgments have nothing to do with it. He chuckled and said that this is all simply ridiculous. Darkness is consumed by even deeper darkness. Isn't that the law of survival in the demon world? Gamadair remained silent, glaring at him sternly, and he excitedly exclaimed, "How can Vindika be called the ruler of the demon realm if he can't absorb the darkness, clear as day?" He knows that order in the demon world now depends on the nobility. His father, disappointed, said that being so narrow-minded was truly foolish. Ravis said that the Vindika line would only survive if the Hilt line was exterminated, since they would commit any crime to ultimately seize the throne. Wasn't that why he sent him as an investigator, instead of those who cowardly hide behind the Hilt line and ignore order? His father remained silent again, then let out a heavy sigh and said that it was useless to talk to him. The decision on his punishment had already been made in conjunction with the 12 Black Thrones. He raised his voice and announced his sentence. For violating the laws of the demon world and slaughtering the Hilt line, he would be banished to the human world. His eyes widened at this, and he anxiously asked if he was serious. The Demon King said that he needed to atone for his sins in the human world, where his power would be sealed, and learn the true dignity of the Vindika line. MC didn't want such a fate for himself. He called out to him excitedly and said that although he had killed the followers of the Hilt line, he did not destroy their souls. But his father no longer listened to him. He ordered the 12 thrones to begin carrying out the sentence. They surrounded him and began using magic, and Ravas cursed, shouting that he did not admit this, that they should stop this immediately. He would not leave. He had done nothing wrong. But they did not listen to him. One of them, Banbe, scorched his face with demonic flame, and with a smirk wished him a pleasant stay. He would look after this place. MC cursed in rage and then screamed loudly, and the flames engulfed his entire body. And so Ravi's Vindika was sentenced to exile in the human world. The rules of the human world: live the life of the body in which you are imprisoned. Do not take your own life before the allotted time, and do not kill people. In case of breaking the rules, the soul will be destroyed. After this, MC woke up in someone else's body. He jumped out of bed and screamed loudly, but there was no more pain. He caught his breath and looked at his trembling hands and realized that he really was here after all. He clenched his teeth in irritation and slapped himself in the face, exclaiming that he couldn't believe that he had actually ended up in the human world. Banbei, that idiot, as soon as he returned, the first thing he would do was rip out his horn. And then he felt weak and wondered why this man's whole body ached. After that, he stood up and, looking at these hands again, wondered if he was really trapped in this weak body. These idiots from the Hilt clan, they were of no use until the very end. It was hard for him to even breathe here. Is there a source of sulfur nearby? The door to the room creaked open. The sister of the previous owner of this body came in to check out what all the noise was about. Seeing him standing in the middle of the room, she excitedly called out to him with tears in her eyes and asked if he had finally woken up. She immediately threw herself into his arms and said that she was so happy she thought he would never wake up again. Ravis looked at her in bewilderment and thought, who the hell is this? Is she a relative of the body's previous owner? Her mother, Seojuhi, came in. She called him Minho, that is the boy's name, and burst into tears, saying that she was so glad that he woke up. How much pain he must have suffered. MC didn't know what was happening and what to do in such a situation. They said that the human world is one of the 3 great hells. Will he be able to survive here? The head of the family, Jong Taesik, appeared. He measured his son with a glance, and his wife, with tears in her eyes, said that Minho had just woken up. He remained silent, giving him a stern look, and told him to quickly come to his senses and go to school tomorrow. He had been lying on his bed for a whole week, so he will have to study a lot. After that, he left and his wife followed him, saying that Minho was still too weak, and he asked her to shut up. He had already woken up. Ravis, at that time, looked after him in surprise, and the girl asked, "Is he okay?" This man's gaze captivated him. He even began to like this man. After all, there are people here who look like demons. He himself did not notice how he broke into a smile, which made this Minho's sister feel uneasy, and then he realized that he was smiling. He immediately frowned and thought that he himself did not notice how he liked it. He needs to be careful until the memories of this body return. The next day he went to school. Juhi gave him a ride and told him that if he feels unwell during classes, he should call her. He got out of the car and briefly said goodbye to her, and she looked after him worriedly. He looked around the school and thought that even in the demon world, he had visited this place 600 years ago. And at that age, being in a human school is pure hell. But the human world is hell, right? He found his classroom, took his seat, and thought that humans can't live even 100 years. He will behave quietly to avoid soul annihilation. He defeated the Hilt clan and bought himself some time, so he only had to return to the demon world and inherit his father's throne before the royal house of Vindica seemed to be in danger. His two classmates walked behind him. One of them, Teo, noted with surprise that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and he turned to them with a frown. This guy put a hand on his shoulder and asked with a smirk, did he bring the fees that had accumulated during his absence? Because of his action, his body shrank in on itself, which he certainly didn't expect, and then Mino's memories came flooding back. He saw how they had been mocking him all this time, beating him and laughing. And he, the poor thing, had endured the beatings and cried. Now he knew the reason why his whole body ached. It was all because of those idiots. Cho hit him on the back of the head and said that he had shrunk so much. They were friends, after all, and he had become even more pathetic. Continuing to slap him on the head, he took out his phone and said that they hadn't seen each other in a long time, so he should say hello properly and quickly pay the contribution as a sign of their friendship. MC was shocked. It was hard for him to comprehend that he was being hit right now. At the demon school, during class, they were taught what a human is, and one of the demons exclaimed that they look so vulgar, like invertebrates. He was sure they stink. Teacher Cynthia said that they were right. Humans are infinitely vulgar creatures. They are ready to do anything to hide their weakness. Besides, they are a stupid race, worshipping both demons and angels at the same time. Ravis said that such idiots should simply be burned, and she agreed with him. If he were to encounter a human, let him crush him immediately. He clenched his fists in rage and thought, how dare a pathetic human touch him. After that, he grabbed To by the hair and slammed his head on the desk, thinking that humans really are stupid. To screamed and called him names, telling him to let go, and his friend, Sungyun, immediately pounced on the MC and exclaimed, has he completely lost his mind? His magic immediately reacted. He quickly turned to him and he, swinging his fist at him, exclaimed, has he completely lost his mind? Returning from the dead? Is he looking for death? Ravis easily reacted to his every move. He dodged and thought, so human swearing stimulates magic? He decided to use this connection and punched him in the face with all his strength, causing him to fly into the wall with lockers, and the other classmates were shocked by this sight. After this, MC looked at his hand and thought that in the human world, magic should be sealed, but now it reacts to aggression, even in a human body. One of his classmates, Shion, called out to him worriedly, and wondered if this was really the Minho he knew. The guy he'd slammed into the desk grabbed a chair and pounced on it in revenge, and then the boy warned the MC of the danger. He immediately turned around and kicked him in the chest with all his might, knocking him out of breath. He cursed through heavy breaths, and Ravis said that they say people become rude to hide their weakness. He thinks insults make him stronger? He pulled his leg back, hit him hard in the lower jaw, and thought that the source of the human abuse and swearing was his mother. After such a blow, the bully lay unconscious on the floor, as did his friend. Everyone was shocked that Minho had defeated Teo and Sungyuk, and began to quietly discuss what had happened. The MC, meanwhile, smirked and mentally turned to his father, asking if he just needed to be quiet and leave. He called out to his classmates, and with an ominous smile, asked who else wanted to insult him. Let them just try. Everyone was shocked that the quiet and modest Minho was now acting like this, and Shion thought that he didn't know he was so strong. After that, he hesitantly approached him and asked, is he okay? Ravi smiled, and thought that this guy tried to help him earlier. He looks quite suitable to become his servant. He ominously answered him that everything is fine, and in the late afternoon, classes finally ended. The two of them left the school, and he admired how cool he was at dealing with them all by himself. It was simply amazing. Did he get reincarnated as a hero from another world? Because of these words, MC was momentarily scared and already thought that he realized who he was. But Shion was just a fan of webtoons about Morim, ranks, and games. Raviz looked at him suspiciously and thought that this servant had already guessed his true nature. He remembered chatting with Banbei recently. He told him that in the human world, you can't kill people. It's certain death for a demon, and he asked why. Teacher Cynthia said that cynical people should be crushed. Banbei noted that she said it without any reason. They shouldn't take human deaths lightly. After all, they are gods who control death. MC said that according to rumors, people only try to kill each other, to which he replied that they are stupid. That's why they exist. He didn't take it seriously, and the demon told him to remember, killing a person is punishable by the destruction of the soul. He answered him that it didn't matter to him. He was a demon after all, and he had no need to go to the human world. But fate decided otherwise. He looked up to the sky and thought, if you can't kill people, then how can he shut their mouths? At that moment, Shion said that it would be great if reincarnation really existed. He wished he could wake up in another world. Just looking at him, Ravis smelled the desperate pain. This boy said that he knew that reincarnation and all that was nonsense. He knew better than anyone how much he had endured before he broke down. MC was glad that he hadn't guessed his essence, and when the boy said that he was cool, he shuddered with disgust. To receive praise from some person? That's shameful. Night had fallen. He was already sitting on his bed and getting ready for bed. When people were aggressive towards him, the magical power was definitely working. Although a demon imprisoned in a human body is not capable of using magic. So how did this happen? He smiled and thought, after all for him, Ravis Vindica, there were no limits, and then he felt a sudden pain throughout his body. He immediately lay down and thought that this body was too weak to withstand his magic. He had only lived as a human for 1 day, and already he felt such torment. And he can't even sleep from such pain. But these are just words. He fell asleep in literally a second. Morning came, then afternoon and evening. Classes ended and MC and his servant left the school. Shion happily said that they hadn't had a normal school life in a long time. He was so grateful to him. Because of him, no one bothered them today. He snorted in displeasure and said that it would be better if they fought with him. Actually, he also wanted to test his magical power. Suddenly, someone called out to him. He turned around and saw To accompanied by other bullies. Apparently, he complained to them and came for revenge. The leader of these bullies asked if he was the one who touched his brother. They had been protecting him, receiving modest contributions all this time, so he dared to repay them for their kindness? Shion trembled with fear, but Ravis, on the contrary, was only happy about the upcoming fight, and with a wide smile on his face, told him that he really touched him. The guy told him to follow him, which made him look forward to it. They arrived at the construction site. The guy immediately scolded To. He told him not to let anyone bully him, but he came back looking like such a weakling, beaten up. He asked him for forgiveness, and then the guy turned to MC, asking what he should do. If he just left him like that, he would become a bad brother who didn't keep an eye on his younger brother. He poked his finger in his forehead and asked if his mother taught him to beat up good friends. He smirked and said that was true. The bully let out a nervous laugh and called him an idiot, then swung his arm and asked if he was making fun of him. He wanted to hit him, but he grabbed his wrist and thought that a stream of curses, reminding him of his mother, was always pleasant. He squeezed his hands so tightly that a crunch and a scream were heard. He tried to tear his hand from his grip, but he couldn't. And then Ravis pounced on him and thought of his all-powerful mother, who put poison in people's tongues and struck him in the face. He continued to beat him and thought that violence binds the flesh and poisonous words corrode the soul, so she said, "These pathetic people are so desperately looking for her." To and the others called out to him worriedly, and he asked why they were just standing there. "Let them finish off this idiot quickly," MC asked. Now they decided to attack as a crowd? That's even better. His eyes flashed and he rushed into battle, because the more evil, the more power will accumulate. He landed a single, precise blow to the face of each of the bullies, shocking Shion. After a while, the fight, or rather the beating, finally ended. Ravis, with a heavy sigh, looked up to the sky and spread his arms wide, saying he felt a bit better. His uncle had gifted people with violence while his mother was inventing curse words. Now he understood perfectly well why he had allowed people to commit violence. He stretched his hands to the sky, thanking him, and Shion called out to him worriedly. All this time, a rat had been watching him. And not just any rat, but a demonic one. What the rat saw was transmitted directly to his uncle Varkan, and Banbei said that, as he saw, his task had been carried out flawlessly. The demon was very pleased with his sweet nephew. He placed his foot on the lesser demon's head, and said that he seemed to like the gift. Banbei smiled, and thought that he had inserted a stone of demonic blood into his eye, instead of the stone of prohibition. He wondered how long it would last. Varkan laughed and said he was truly surprised to think he'd actually wiped out the entire Hilt clan. Banbei pointed out that Ravis wouldn't rest until he got what he deserved, and Varkan said that no one could break that guy's stubbornness. Even though Gamadare had thrown him out into the human world without a shadow of a doubt, he was so heartless. Bambi said that only forceful subjugation worked with such scum. That was the motto of their great demon king, Gamadare. Varkan smiled and said that only those whose sins were too great, even for the demon world, were sent to the human world. Ravis would have a hard time there. And when did that brat manage to grow up and do such mischief? Banbei asked if that was why he'd given him the bloodstone. He spread his hands over the bowl and said that everything was ready to observe the sinner in the human world. Varkan smiled and told him to show them to him, after which the demon extended his hands forward, filling the bowl with energy containing various demons, and said that since Ravas had descended among the people, he would have to face them one way or another. Varkan rose, began to gather this energy into a sphere, and thought about his nephew, in great anticipation of when he would experience true darkness. Time passed. MC and his servant were already sitting in some restaurant, and while they ate spicy tteokbokki, Shion, in admiration, constantly asked him how it all happened. He even beat up To's brother. It was awesome, like in a movie. Ravis laughed and asked, "Is this the taste of hellfire? It's just nonsense." Shion felt uneasy. He asked, "Then why is he crying?" He responded by calling him a fool. "It's just sweat from his eyes." Shion said that he had told him to take the beginner's selection, and he stubbornly continued to eat it, because a demon running from hellfire is not a demon. And then his servant's phone rang. The name Jin Jae-hee appeared on the screen, and the guy's face immediately turned pale. The MC asked what was wrong with him. he wouldn't answer the call. Xion immediately stood up and quickly said goodbye to him, citing an urgent matter, but he noticed how his hands were shaking and suspected something was wrong. Soon it went dark. Somewhere in a basement tattoo parlor, a man was being tormented. He screamed in pain, and Jae-hee told him not to move, otherwise he would get hurt. To prevent this, he needed to return the money on time, but now he was only giving her extra work. When she finished, she said with a smile that everything was ready. The ink was very light, and his skin was great. She wrote "thief" on his forehead. Her assistant's voice rang out, telling her that he had brought him. Xion stood next to him, shaking with fear, and Jae-hee asked what was taking him so long. She asked him to come here and look at the one on the couch. She grabbed the boy's face and forced him to bend over the guy, telling him to open his eyes and look closely. Does he know what this means? It's a brand for thieves. This guy didn't return the debt, so he got what he deserved. And what about him? How's their agreement going? Everything is going according to plan, right? Without taking his eyes off the inscription, he answered her in a trembling voice that there were always mistakes. And then she slapped him on the cheek, causing him to fall, and asked if he thought this was all a joke. She picked up the tattoo machine and asked why he still couldn't understand it. The guys grabbed his arms, holding him in place. Then she grabbed his wrist and asked if she should give him a tattoo right on his arm so he would remember this. He fearfully asked her not to do it, and she sternly told him to listen to her carefully. This was his last chance. He doesn't want to end up in that guy's place, does he? So let him do as she said and prepare everything properly. After that, Xion went home, sat down at the computer, and stared at the monitor. His trembling hands hovered over the keyboard, and he thought, should he even finish this? He grabbed his hand, trying to stop the trembling, and thought that if he didn't, it would be bad. Pulling himself together, he got to work. Ravaz at this time was suffering from indigestion. He was lying on the bed and swinging his legs, trying to distract himself from the pain, and thought that now he knew what it was like to have an intolerance to spicy food. His stomach was burning, and his body ached as if it had been run over. It only took him a little fight, and his shoulders were already falling off. He took off his t-shirt and immediately started doing push-ups, thinking that Ravaz Vindika will not give up because of such nonsense. He will fix this piece of trash called a body at all costs. No pain will break his spirit. Morning came. Xion was already at school. He looked at the flash drive in his hand and thought that this app is too dangerous. He remembered Jae-hee's threatening tone and got nervous, thinking about what he should do. And then MC appeared. He called out to him and put his hand on his shoulder, which scared him and even screamed. He asked in confusion why he was so scared. Xion looked up at him and then an idea occurred to him. Maybe he should ask Minho for help, but he immediately put this idea aside. No matter how cool Minho became, getting involved with Jae-hee is too much for him. He can't let Minho get hurt because of him. While Ravi's was trying to figure out what he was thinking, a strange girl named Sunghae passed by, immediately catching his attention with a very familiar scent. Then she suddenly tripped and fell face down on the floor, as if she had lost consciousness, and Xion ran up to her worriedly. He helped her roll over onto her side, and when he saw her smiling and drooling despite her broken nose, he got scared and immediately pulled away from her. After that, her body began to shake convulsively, and MC thought he felt a demonic aura. But where does this come from in a person? The teacher came running at the noise, asked the girl what was wrong, but she didn't answer him. Then he put her on his back and ran to the infirmary. They passed by Ravi's, and he noticed a tattoo on her arm, the Hilt family crest. Where does this come from on a human body? After that, he decided to check everything out. In the evening, he went to the hospital where Sunghae was taken. He approached her room, and the police girl on duty at the door told him to wait. Is he Sunghae's friend? She needs peace right now, so no visitors. The MC turned to her and looked straight into her eyes, granting her oblivion. The spell worked. Her eyes rolled back and she returned to her place and did not react to him anymore. He opened the door and thought that even with such pathetic crumbs of magic, he could do something like this, even if it was not for long. He entered the room and Sungi, hearing the sound of the door closing, immediately looked up at him with displeasure and asked, "Who is he?" He asked in response, "Who is she?" She did not understand what he was talking about and began to resent him for barging into the room without permission, and he abruptly grabbed her wrist and pulled her towards him. She began to scream that it hurt, but he was now focused only on the mark on her hand. He asked how such a lowly person could dare wear the Hilt family crest. She said he was talking complete nonsense, and he threatened her that if she didn't want more serious problems, she should tell him everything. Who was she really? His gaze made her tremble with fear and sweat. She glanced at the horned silhouette behind him and thought, "Is that a demon?" She mumbled, not knowing what to answer, and he ordered her to speak normally, which made her even more nervous, and said that she really didn't know what it was. Jae-hee said that if she wanted to join their gang, she needed to get this tattoo. She promised her that she would also give her diet pills. Ravi's thought that he had definitely encountered the faint scent emanating from this girl before in the demon world. As children, he and Banbei entered the tower and began to descend. Banbei nervously asked where he was going. "You can't come here. It's a restricted area." MC looked at him and called him a coward with a smirk, which made him angry and exclaimed that he wasn't scared. He just didn't want to get punished. Ravis casually put his hands behind his head and told him to go back then. Banbei hesitated and said that he didn't want that either. Who knows what he'll do again if left alone. After that, he looked back and wondered how much longer they had to walk. They went all the way down and walked forward along the corridor. After a few minutes of silence, Banbei called out to him and asked if he knew. He answered that he had no idea. If he told him, he would find out. The boy cleared his throat and said that since they were in such darkness, he remembered a story about those whose eyes surpassed any racial limitations. They say that they can lose their sight in two ways. They either go blind from too bright a light, or their eyes atrophy in complete darkness because there is nothing to see, like here for example. Suddenly, the MC hissed, asking him to be quiet. He stopped at the entrance to a spacious hall and said that there was something there. Right in the middle of the hall lay someone's body, strewn with flowers. Banbei became scared and asked, "What the hell is that?" Ravas boldly went forward, offering him to take a closer look, and he worriedly said that it was dangerous. But despite this, he followed his friend and they saw the body. Banbei fearfully asked, "Isn't that Jeremy Hilt?" MC noted that, judging by his condition, this idiot was already dead. His attention was drawn to the flowers. They were growing right out of his body. He decided to pick one, and Banbei worriedly told him not to touch it, but it was too late. He pulled the flower out by the roots and immediately smelled a terrible stench, and Banbei hid behind his back in fear, and seeing how the roots of this flower were shaking as if alive, said that this couldn't be. These are devouring flowers. At the moment, Ravis could smell those flowers from that girl. Sunghai was shaking with fear, asking for help, and the MC looked out the window. There was a bat hanging on a tree branch, watching him, and the owner of it thought that they would meet soon. He would be waiting for it. After that, Ravis went to the tattoo parlor. He stopped at the entrance and thought, a tattoo of the Hilt family and a devouring flower. Could this really be a coincidence? Meanwhile, the guys were walking in the basement. They were discussing Shion. Why is Youngmu so eager to get this high school student? Someone said that he doesn't need a guy, but the app he created. The guy took out a candy and asked, do they also use such technologies now? Seeing the candy, the others were surprised and asked, is that a blue bow? It's a new development of Youngmu. One of them told the guy to stop eating it. Didn't he hear what happened to Zhu Sungye yesterday? It's a new product. There are probably a lot of side effects. He said he didn't care. The main thing was that he was having a blast. At that moment, the MC came out from around the corner. He glanced at the guys and thought it was the same smell and the hilt symbol again. When they saw him, they stopped, and he asked if they also got that tattoo on Jin Jae-hee. The guy with the blue bow called him an idiot and asked if he was her friend. He patted him on the cheek and said that you need to speak respectfully to your elders. Raviz got angry. He immediately pushed his hand away from himself and then punched him in the face, and he passed out. When he fell, the other guys got furious and exclaimed, "Who sent him?" Instead of an answer, he got a punch in the face. The blow threw him back, and another man shouted curses in rage and attacked him. He punched but missed, but the MC was very accurate. He fell to the floor with a scream. The remaining guy pulled out a knife and lunged at Raviz. Then he turned around and kicked him in the head with all his might, then asked, "Where is Jin Jae-hee?" The guy he hit first had already woken up. He got up and said he would kill him, but he looked like a rabid beast, his eyes bulging and drooling down his chin. He was surprised and wondered if the demonic energy had gotten stronger. The guy pounced on him, and he noticed that even his movements had changed. Did the candy enhance his physical abilities? He wanted to step away, but tripped over someone's leg and fell. And the guy jumped at him like he was mad, and when he swung for a punch, the MC cursed nervously. Meanwhile, Jae-hee came to the boss and told him that the app wasn't ready yet. She was sorry. Her friends said that this time they explained everything clearly to him, so everything would be ready soon. Youngmu tiredly clutched his head and noted that they said this last time, and they also caught the one stealing the blue bows. The naked guy sitting next to Jae-hee, as a sign of humiliation, exclaimed that it was his fault. He began to beg him for mercy, for one more chance. He would not make another mistake. Youngmu silently looked at the blue flowers in the vase, took them out, and approached the thief. He looked up at him with a frightened look and asked for mercy, and seeing what he was about to do, he shook his head hysterically and screamed, begging him not to do it. Youngmu swung his arm and pierced his eye socket with the sharp stem of the flowers, and he fell silent. A tear ran down his cheek, and he wheezed softly. This sight terrified Jae-hee. The thief again asked for mercy, but Youngmu was not going to stop. He swung again and struck, and a scream rang out, blood splattered everywhere, and then his body collapsed on the floor, and he screamed in agony. Youngmu said that there are no second chances. He hoped everyone present understood this. He turned to Jae-hee and asked, "Is he right?" She swallowed nervously, and he said that therefore she should stop talking idle and bring what he needs. She looked away, afraid to look at him, and answered him that she understood everything. After that, she went outside and immediately started nervously calling Shion, but he didn't answer for a long time. He was working on the computer at the time, and seeing that he was being called, he paused and picked up the phone. Raviz called him. He said that he wanted to figure it out himself, but the local guys didn't want to talk. Shion didn't understand what he was talking about and asked, "He knows Jin Jae-hee, right?" He immediately got nervous and started asking how he knew her, to which he replied that he just saw her name on the screen. Does he know where she lives? Shion became worried and asked why he was looking for her. Had those idiots really dragged him there too? He answered that it wasn't that. He contacted her himself. He needed to check something. He was now at Jin Jae-hee's tattoo parlor, but she wasn't there. He noticed a cat sitting on the stairs, which flinched at his gaze, while Shion quickly threw on a sweater and headed for the exit, telling him not to mess with it under any circumstances. He'd be right there. Shion turned off his phone without letting him say a word, and then he looked at the cat, which began to act rather strangely, as if it were impersonating a cat. He walked up to it and picked it up by the scruff of the neck, asking, "Does it understand him?" The animal meowed nervously, and he sternly ordered it to answer him normally. The cat was so scared that it immediately began speaking in human language, and he began interrogating it. That time, it was a rat. Yesterday, it was a bat. Today, it's a cat. She told him that she was an observer from the demon world. Her job was to discreetly watch the prisoner. That's why she was watching him. MC thought that her demonic energy was too weak. "Is it really a demon?" She asked how he noticed her, and he answered that she stood out too much. Even now she was standing on her hind legs. She only now realized this and was surprised, and Ravas said that there was no point in asking her further. He used magic and commanded the owner of this creature to show himself. Her eyes immediately became unconscious, and Banbei meanwhile smirked and thought that it happened faster than he thought. He said that he quickly guessed, and MC irritably called him an idiot and asked if this was his doing again. He asked in response why he was so rude to his friend. He wondered what he was planning this time, and he decided to pretend that he didn't know anything. Ravis realized that there was no point in asking him and sighed heavily, saying that then he would ask about something else. Everything is not as he remembers. Can a prisoner use magic in the human world? He answered him that exceptions happen everywhere. He will find out everything himself soon. He won't have to explain. Does he want to ask something else? MC said he smelled the devouring flower. Its scent too strong in this world. He smelled that scent back then too. That flower is forbidden even in the demon world, and he smells it here. Bombay said that even the demon world officials know about the Hilt family creatures infiltrating the human world. They turned out to be too tenacious to be considered completely exterminated. He asked irritably, "So is this the Hilt family's doing again? Do their powers remain in the human world?" Banbei laughed and said that the human world isn't what it used to be. It's a breeding ground for conspiracies now, and he's there just in time, so let him sort things out there. He asked, "What is he even talking about? What else happened?" But Banbei didn't answer anymore. He realized that the connection was broken when the cat came to her senses. He gave her an irritated look and cursed. Meanwhile, Jaehee kept trying to call Shion. She nervously exclaimed that every second counts here, and he's not answering her. She irritably dialed another number and said that he was finished. The guy named Songjun, whom she called, was now in the computer club. He answered her, and she told him to quickly go to the office. They would go catch that idiot Shion. Meanwhile, Ravis asked the cat, since she is an observer, she must know the human world well? She answered him that it was so. After all, she needs to constantly search for prisoners one by one, so she regularly receives information. Her searching skills are top-notch. He ordered her to take on her true form, which made her a little taken aback, and he threateningly asked if he should do it himself. She was very scared and said that she would do everything herself, after which she folded her paws together and her body glowed. A demoness appeared from a bright flash. She stood before Ravas with a smile, and he remarked that she looked too weak. He said that since Banbei sent her, there must be a reason. "What is her name?" She looked down and told him that she didn't have a name, so the MC didn't waste any time and called her Street. He picked her up on the street, so she shouldn't forget that. She really liked her name. Her mood immediately lifted, and she enthusiastically thanked him for it. Now he ordered her to tell him everything she knew about the human world. Meanwhile, Shion ran towards him as fast as he could because he was in danger. He had to stand his ground until the end. He remembered running out of the app creation competition building. He was very happy that he won, but there were suspicious people ahead. And Jaehee, she asked, isn't he the developer who won the competition? She heard that the prize for winning was a measly 500 won. She laughed and told the guys to take him away, and then Shion screamed in fear and was dragged into the car. He was seated in front of Youngmu and he asked, what was he afraid of? It's just a deal. Let him look at the seat next to him. There's 50 million won in cash. Let him sell them his app. He replied that it wasn't for sale. That's not why he did it. Youngmu paused for a moment and said that's just what he thought, and these words scared the boy even more. Now he was running, thinking that he had to hurry, that he shouldn't let him see her, and then he bumped into some big guy. He immediately apologized to him, but when he looked up at his face, he was scared. Sungjun said that he didn't expect this. They didn't even have to look for him. He came on his own. Shion looked over and saw her. Jaehee said in a rage that he was done for, and he realized that things were bad. After that, they dragged him into the basement, and Jaehee said that his job was to sit here and monitor the app. If he didn't want to rot locked up, he should do everything right. He excitedly asked her to wait, and she said that they were watching his every move from the outside, so he shouldn't even think about pulling any tricks. After that, she slammed the door, and he was left alone in this computer room with one of her friends, and he thought it was all over. Meanwhile, they were watching him through the window, and Songjun asked if he was really a developer. He was really slow. Jaehee told him that she was told she couldn't sell the blue bow without his program. The man asked if his app was called I'm Here, and how would they sell the product through it? The name is so stupid. Meanwhile, the guy sat Shion down at the table and hit him on the back of the head, forcing him to get to work. He launched the app. Judging by the logo, it was designed for dating and friends. Youngmu approached them and asked if everything was ready. His program was the heart of their blue bow business. First, they need to get customer data, Then they can do whatever they want with the market. The geolocation sharing function will be their main tool for expanding sales. Seongjun was delighted and said that they would finally start selling the blue bow in large quantities. Youngmoo looked down at the candy in his hand and agreed with him. They'd show this to the world. A new day dawned, and the app quickly gained popularity thanks to the 30,000 won cashback for each friend's registration. All the students immediately started downloading it. Of course, everyone wanted easy money, and some even forced others to do the same. Plus, for registering, they gave a weight loss product called Blue Bow as a gift. The app claimed it was certified, but of course, that was a lie. Evening arrived, and all of Youngmoo's subordinates were delighted. Jae-hee decided to check how many registrations there had been that day and pulled out her phone, saying everything was great. Sung-joon remarked that Youngmoo clearly knew her stuff. She surveyed the devastation around her and asked a guy if he still hadn't caught the idiot who trashed her studio. He told her he'd checked the security cameras, but there was a bat there. She raised an eyebrow in confusion and decided to see for herself. There was a bat on the video. It was looking straight at the camera, blocking the view, and on the other cameras there was a rat. Jae-hee cursed, not understanding how this was even possible, and Sung-joon received a message. He glanced at it and told her to get ready. They said the shipment of blue bows had arrived. Meanwhile, Ravas was walking home from school. He glanced at Street, who was trying to crawl through a hole in the wall, and asked if she was stuck. She immediately apologized to him and returned to her true form, saying that she had gained a little weight. He asked what about the case he entrusted her with yesterday. She proudly told him that it was not easy, but she found out everything. Yesterday, he was very interested in those candies. He sniffed them, as he thought they smelled like a devouring flower. So, he woke up after eating this thing. Without a host, it is simply impossible to grow a devouring flower. This flower is extinct even in the demon world. So where did humans get it? Street told him that the candy he asked about was called Blow. This crap is fed to people under the guise of diet pills and other supplements. He asked about the ingredients, and she told him that Blue Bow was made so secretly that it was difficult to find out what it was made of and where. He asked irritably, so she didn't find out anything? She became nervous and exclaimed that that was not true at all. The finished product was very popular. There were so many candies that if they followed the demonic energy trail, they would definitely find the manufacturer. He poked her in the forehead and said that she should have gone there right away, to which she replied that Banbei told her to come with him. He frowned and asked if she was telling Banbei every move he made. She apologized to him. She was just a lower being who was obliged to listen to both of them. He told her to choose right now, him or Banbei. Who was her real master? She hesitated, unsure of what to say, and he promised her that he would make her stop being a lesser creature if she chose him. She presented herself as a noble lady and immediately bowed to him and swore an oath of allegiance, and he smirked, extending his hand to her and saying that he accepted her as his personal servant. As soon as his magic touched her, Banbei lost contact with her. An MC, with a victorious grin, told him to leave. After that, they went to where the blue bow was made. Night fell. They arrived at the warehouse, and Street said that they were there. The highest concentration of blue bow energy was there. He offered to open one of the containers, but she couldn't, since each one had a chain and a lock, so he decided to rely on brute force. He punched it, breaking the chains, and as soon as they opened the container, they smelled a terrible stench. The container was completely filled with boxes that stank, and Street asked, "Is that all the blue bow?" There were a bunch of other containers like it around them. In the past, he fought with his uncle. Varkan pushed him to the very edge of a cliff and said that his arrogant and completely obnoxious nephew was still such a weakling. Ravis responded by calling him a vile uncle, and he said that if he didn't want to be a good boy, then he should just die. He punched him, and he immediately blocked and held the blow, and his uncle smirked. After that, MC was thrown several meters beyond the cliff. As he fell into the abyss, he shouted curses at his uncle, and he laughed at him and asked, "Is this how he plans to die?" After that, he followed him. After a while, Ravis landed, kicking his legs, trying to cope with the pain in his back, and then Varkan landed next to him and mockingly asked, "Is he dead?" But he stopped mid-sentence, noticing something. MC followed his gaze and saw a pile of demon bodies devoured by flowers. His uncle sighed heavily and said that now it was clear where they were hiding. Looking at them, Ravas recalled the history of the formation of the human world. Light and darkness separated, thus creating opposites, unable to coexist. Without accepting either side, creatures emerged that grew on their own. A flower bloomed at the dawn of time, where they gathered, cast off celestials, and torn demons. The desire of this flower, which destroys flesh, was the destruction of the world. After that, the two of them burned both the bodies and the flowers. MC said he was sure they'd all burned to the ground back then, and Street added that she'd also heard that the Overlord had combed through the entire demon world and wiped them out. But where were there so many of them? Ravas said that this flower originally appeared in the human world. It's the middle world, where light and darkness mix into a murky cocktail. The human world doesn't belong to either side, but from here, the paths are open anywhere. According to human legends, he'd read that humans exterminated them thousands of years ago, but it turned out that wasn't true. If they appeared in both worlds at the same time, that means someone needs it. Street paused and noticed something, immediately after which a flashlight was shown on them, and they both turned around. The guy said he'd been wondering whose voices he was hearing. Do they even know where they've come from? Taking a closer look at MC, he excitedly called out to Jae-hee and said that it was that idiot from the tattoo parlor. Street recognized them. She pointed to the girl and told Raviz that it was Jae-hee. At this point, she exclaimed in displeasure, "Who the hell is he? Why did he trash her salon? And how did he even find them?" He asked if she was the one running this mess. She cursed and said that it was her. So what? He asked if she even knew what this thing was made of. She grinned and asked if he was trying to find out their secrets. He sighed and said that it wasn't that he cared. He just felt somehow uneasy leaving things as they were. Jae-hee asked the guys if they screwed up this time. They knew what Youngmoo would do to them, right? She took out special rations, blue bows from her pockets. They were very happy and asked if it was really free. She ordered them to eat it silently. And while they were devouring the candies, the MC told Street to hide and keep a low profile. Otherwise, she would get in his way. She immediately ran to the container. Meanwhile, the blue bows began to take effect, and the guys were overcome with rage. Jae-hee pointed at Raviz and told them to kill him right now. They dropped the candy wrappers and rushed to attack, and he called them idiots. They were drunk on their own arrogance and didn't even understand what they'd gotten themselves into. He told them to come closer. There was a lot of demonic energy here. A guy with a knife lunged at him. He dodged his blow and struck back, after which another one lunged at him and kicked him. Having dealt with that, he lunged at the other guy, dodged a blow, and hit him in the chin with all his might, then turned around, but the attacker managed to grab him. Raviz couldn't break free, he cursed, and the guy with a beastly cry threw him over himself and knocked him to the ground. Then the biggest guy in their group hit the MC with his knee. Street, meanwhile, was really worried about him, and Jae-hee was enjoying the spectacle. The crazy guys laughed and started hitting him all at once. He had to defend himself and thought they were strong. Was it because they ate more of that stuff than last time? He thought of something and turned to the container, punched one of the boxes with his fist, and pulled out a bag of powder from there and swung it, spraying it right in their eyes. They immediately started coughing and choking, and Raviz inhaled the powder and thought that he hated this disgusting stench. But the demonic power, due to the accumulation of evil, reacts even more furiously. When the guys more or less came to their senses, the MC pounced on them with renewed vigor. He knocked one of them to the ground and punched him in the face, then dodged a punch from another idiot and, grabbing his leg, threw him to the ground. He pulled his leg out and kicked his knee, breaking everything, and then the huge guy pounced on him. But Raviz quickly reacted and kicked him, jumped behind him, grabbed his shoulders and, applying even more force, knocked him onto his back. Jae-hee was shocked. How did he deal with them alone? Seeing him get up, she flinched, and when she saw his piercing gaze, she became very scared and exclaimed, "What the hell is this?" Meanwhile, the ballet competition had begun. A girl named Yuria began her performance, and her mother, Kang Yeon-ju, was sitting at home and watching it on TV. She said that she was her daughter, and with such talent, she would easily get into the Venus Ballet Troupe. Youngmoo and his assistant entered the room. They greeted her like a VIP client, and she indignantly asked, "Who the hell are they? How dare they barge in here? Do they even know whose house this is?" The man put a jar of candy on the table, and Youngmoo said that there was a large order for a blue bow, so they decided to deliver it personally. She looked at the jar in surprise and asked, "Are these the same candies?" Youngmoo asked, "Why are you so worried? They control everything from production to sales, so there's nothing to worry about." She frowned and asked, "Are you sure there won't be any problems?" He smirked and asked, "Is she only asking this now?" She'd already stuffed her daughter full of it and sent her on stage. Hyunju glanced at the TV, where her daughter, under the influence of the candy, was spinning non-stop, performing various tricks. Seeing her speeding up, she became worried. Drooling began to flow, her eyes rolled back in her head, and her body began to tremble. Youngmoo told her mother that she must have rushed things too much. How many candies had she given her? At one point, Yuria became really ill, frozen on one leg, and Hyunju jumped up in excitement and told her daughter to stop, as if she'd hear her. At that moment, her leg twisted, and she immediately collapsed to the floor and didn't move anymore. The audience screamed in fear, and security ran onto the stage. Hyunju burst into tears and began taking her emotions out on Youngmoo, who had said there would be no side effects. He told her that he was talking about cases where the dosage was followed. In any case, her daughter has no hope left now. She will survive only if she feeds her illusions with this. She looked at the jar with fear, and he said that now she cannot live without a blue bow until the very end. She did not let him finish and screamed loudly, clutching her head. "Does he even know how much she put in it?" Youngmoo smiled contentedly, after which his phone rang. It was Jae-hee. He answered the video call and asked what she needed. She, looking scared, apologized to him. After which, Raviz interrupted the camera and asked, "So he makes blue bows?" Youngmoo's eyes widened and he asked who he was, and he noted that it really was him. They need to meet. The call ended, and Youngmoo said goodbye to the woman with a gloomily look, saying that they had urgent business. Meanwhile, Street asked why people even eat this crap. The MC answered her that it was because they were stupid and arrogant. They're cocky enough to believe that even if they try, they won't get hooked. They have nothing to believe in, so they cling to such trifles. Street noticed something and pointed behind him, and Jae-hee immediately called out to Youngmoo excitedly. He came out of the forest with his men and asked if the tattoo parlor was his doing too. Was he looking for him? Raviz told him he wasn't interested. He was interested in where he got that thing. Could a pathetic little human get something like that? Youngwoo's eyes widened at the word little human, and he wondered if this idiot was really like him. In the past, he lived with a father addicted to all sorts of nasty things, and he got his son hooked on it too. Youngwoo called him out and asked if he was asleep yet. Let him give him some more of that thing. His father didn't respond and he kicked him, causing his body to flip over onto its back, and he saw his lifeless eyes and thought, was he dead or something? He cursed and said that he had died, just like he had been eating this crap all his life. And now that he was dead, where would he get that thing? He started kicking him in a rage, shouting curses, and at one point his father's eyes lit up. Seeing this, he immediately stopped and called out to him in fear. And then his father began to slowly get up and said that he had died. But it wasn't his father, but the one who had taken over his body. The demon asked if his death saddened him. He stared at him in confusion and he said that if that was what he was sad about, then he would bring him back to life. He grinned and exclaimed that he had finally died, so it didn't sadden him one bit. He didn't need that trash, he only needed that thing. The demon said he understood everything, then handed him a flower and told him to feed his father's body to this plant. This way they would make a contract and he would get what he wanted. And if someone betrayed his loyalty and rejected the devouring flower, then let him kill them. The contract would protect him. Youngwoo stared at the flower, then with a wide and maddened smile on his face, he swung it into his father's body. At this moment, Youngwoo asked, is he just a pathetic little human? MC noted that apparently he had some kind of trump card. He confirmed this and said that that creature granted him a new life. Ravi's thought it was obvious. He made a contract with the demon. He flexed his wrist and said that he didn't know what nonsense he believed in, that he was sorry that this happened to both him and that idiot. Youngwoo got angry and asked how dare he insult him. He ordered his men to capture this brat, and Street immediately ran away so as not to interfere with her master. These fights were starting to annoy the MC, and he decided to end it quickly. Meanwhile, Hyunju was taking her daughter to the hospital in an ambulance. School children were meeting with couriers to receive candy, and some have already gone too far. After the app launched, there were tons of orders, and the Blue Bow became very popular. Songjun said that this way they would easily get VIP clients all over the country, and his friend asked, does this mean they will soon become a global corporation? It seems Youngwoo has already paved the way for China and Japan. Songjun said that he is really cool. While they were chatting, Xion sat in that room, monitoring the app, blaming himself for the fact that all this nastiness was spreading at a wild speed, and at the same time praying for someone to put an end to it. Meanwhile, Rabas dealt with those people, and Jae-hee exclaimed that this idiot is not human. MC asked when his master would appear, but he remained silent and remembered their agreement. If anyone betrayed his loyalty, rejected the devouring flower, then he was to kill them. He took 3 candies from his pocket and silently told Lord Baver-hilt that he would do just that. Jae-hee exclaimed that she didn't think he was an ordinary high school student. Maybe he was one of their rivals? Rabas looked at her in confusion, and at that moment Youngwoo moved to attack him, but he quickly reacted and turned around, stopping his hand. Youngwoo began to strike, and he defended himself. During this, he noticed that he was fast, on a completely different level than the previous idiots. Youngwoo asked how he could block his attacks. Had he received his blessing too? He was his god. He should be his god alone. MC said that now he understood everything. That devouring flower and that vile stench, the god he believes in, is this Baver-hilt? Youngwoo was surprised that he knew about it, and he said that of all the possible ones, no one believed in such an insignificant idiot. Youngwoo became angry and told him not to insult the one who took pity on him. He smirked and asked how pathetic he looked, to come to him after hiding everywhere like a rat. He furiously ordered him to shut up. He was not the one whose name he dared to pronounce with his mouth. His blows became even more furious and chaotic, and Ravas, continuing to defend himself, thought that Baver-hilt had risen high. On the day when he came to exterminate their entire race, he alone survived. Then he, who cowardly fled alone, came here and is receiving honors. That idiot Baver, where is he hiding now? Youngwoo cursed and shouted, will he insult him to the last? He leaned forward sharply and growled, and MC immediately covered his nose, smelling a terrible stench. After that, Youngwoo pounced on him and said that anyone who insulted Lord Baver would die at his hands. He grabbed his head and kneed him in the stomach with all his might, then threw him over himself and pinned him to the ground, not letting him move. Ravas gritted his teeth in pain, and seeing his fist, began to defend himself. Youngwoo struck and shouted that both the Blue Bows and Lord Baver belonged to him. MC thought that this idiot had already lost his mind due to demonic energy. He was really going to kill him. Youngwoo screamed and struck again with all his might, and his eye lit up. Street, meanwhile, watched everything from cover and was very worried about Ravi's, because his human body had reached its limit. If this were the demon world, if he could use his abilities, he would quickly deal with him. Meanwhile, his uncle and friend watched the battle. Bonbei said it seemed the flower-devouring test subject had completely merged with them. Although Ravas was in a human body, since the demonic bloodstone was implanted within him, he thought he could suppress some experiment. It seemed he might actually die this time, and then Ravas's soul would be forever subject to destruction. Farkan smiled and asked if he knew what his nephew hated most. He answered that he hates almost everything, so it's hard for him to choose just one. Ravi's has a pretty bad personality, and who did he take after? Farkan said that he understood what he was getting at, and he looked away. Then the demon said that Ravis hates dirt. He has mysophobia, he can't stand anything dirty. At this time, MC furiously stopped Youngwoo's fist and said that it was so dirty here. The guy didn't understand what he was talking about, and he exclaimed that he hated it. This dirty smell emanating from him. He clenched his fist so hard that he pulled his hand back and retreated. Then Ravis got up and thought that even though it was only his left hand, it felt like it belonged to him. He looked up at his opponent. Youngmu was afraid to approach him, and he said that he couldn't continue to touch his dirty body, so he wanted to end it quickly. After these words, he approached the guy and punched him in the face, causing his head to snap back. Youngmu was confused as to where the man got such strength, and Street was overjoyed for her master. MC told him he wasn't human, then punched him again with such force that he was thrown several meters away. Jae-hee screamed in fear, while Youngmu stood up and cursed, asking who he was. Ravis quickly approached him and told him to stop talking with his filthy mouth, then struck him, throwing him into the air. Banbei was surprised by this, and Varkan said that Ravis must have had a headache from the stench when the subject woke up. The smell must have made it difficult for him to get close, as Ravis hates dirt more than anything. Overstimulating his mysophobia leads to awakening, allowing him to use only a fraction of his true power. Banbei asked if he could really use his former power even in a human body. Even if he had the demon bloodstone, using the power of the demon world in the body of a sinner should be impossible. Varkan smiled and remarked that Ravis was no ordinary guy. No matter what anyone said, Ravis was still like him. His nephew struck again, and Youngmu's back hit the boxes of powder, and he said he should count himself lucky. The truth is, he can't kill him in this body. Youngmu was perplexed and exclaimed that it couldn't be. He, who had been blessed by Lord Bavor himself, was being pinned against the wall. He wanted to attack and groped for the box, which gave him an idea, and he broke into a smile. He could eat more. He wanted to break the box, but MC grabbed his wrist and told him not to think stupidly. He'll beat him so hard he won't die. After these words, he adjusted his stance, grabbed his left wrist with his right hand and pounced on him, and all he could do was stand there and watch in shock. After that, Ravis punched him with his left hand, increasing the force of the blow with his other hand. MC retreated. Youngmu's head was stuck in the box, and he no longer moved. With a heavy sigh, MC took a handkerchief from his pocket and covered his nose with it, saying that the stench had finally subsided a little. Meanwhile, Xion was monitoring the app statistics and panicking. He didn't want any of this at all. School is a place where everything is predetermined. Relationships that form in the confined space of a classroom. To survive, to avoid becoming a target, you need to pretend to like someone, pretend to hate them, without having to feign friendship. He only wanted to help find people who genuinely need each other. He didn't create this to sell this crap, so he pulled himself together and, with all his determination, crashed the servers, and there was an immediate reaction. The guys watching him from outside saw the server error. Xion stood up, grabbed a chair, and placed it against the door so they couldn't get in. Seeing this, Songjun told the others to come in and check what he was doing, and the men started banging on the window and door, telling him to open up. Xion returned to the computer to delete the app, while Songjun yelled at his friends. He opened the app, pressed the emergency button, and there was a crash of glass. Songjun smashed the window with a chair and entered the room with the guys. Then one of them punched the boy in the face and yelled in rage, "What is he doing?" While he was beating him, the guys approached the computer and said that this idiot definitely crashed the server. Songjun, in a panic, told him to stop the process immediately. If Youngmu came, he would kill them all. The guy got nervous. He didn't know what to press for this. Meanwhile, Xion thought that he needed to hold out until the app was deleted, no matter what. He grabbed a shard of glass from the floor and slashed the man's leg with it, then quickly got up and ran to the other end of the room, grabbed a fire extinguisher and turned to them, shouting that it was his app. After that, he sprayed the fire extinguisher and dust filled the entire room, blocking their view, thus buying Xion time, and the app was deleted. He was distracted for a second, looking at the monitor, and then Songjun pounced on him and grabbed him by the neck, threw him to the floor in a rage, and told the others to grab something to tie this idiot up with. They coughed from the dust and were unable to do anything, and Songjun began to choke the boy. He, digging his fingers into his arm, wondered, is this all he can do? Is this his limit? The guy cursed, and then suddenly a voice behind him asked, how dare he touch his servant? He turned around in fear, and Ravis grabbed him, and then a scream was heard, and the two guys turned towards the sound and worriedly called out to their friend. When the dust settled a little, they saw the schoolboy grabbing him by the hair and hitting him, and immediately rushed to his aid. MC ran towards them. He hit one of them in the face, and then the other, knocked them both to the floor, and then asked where they were going to get to his only servant. He would rather die than give up what was his. Xion looked up at him and remembered how he told him about his app. Here, on the bulletin board, like-minded people gather and communicate. If they live nearby, you can share locations, even create study groups. Minho, surprised, said that it was amazing. And he created this? He pointed to the red button and asked, what is this? Xion looked away and said with a guilty expression that the last time he was dragged away by To's gang, he couldn't help him, and he felt sorry. To be honest, he couldn't find where they took him then. That's why he created this feature. If you press this button, only selected friends will see the location. And if this happens again, he should just press this, and then he will come to the rescue at any cost. He will report it to the police, or gather friends like them. Minho smiled sadly and thanked him, saying that he will definitely download the app. Now he was looking at him with tears in his eyes, and he showed him the app and asked, Wasn't it he who sent him? Shion asked. So he received its signal. Looking at his app, he burst into tears and thanked him for his help. Meanwhile, Street was waiting for them outside and holding Jae-hee back, or rather, trying to. Jae-hee kept struggling, and she irritably told her to just stand still. When Lord Ravis came out of the basement, she was distracted, and Jae-hee managed to escape from her grip. Street immediately rushed after her, but the MC told her to leave her alone. He didn't need her anymore. He looked up at the sky and thought that the devouring flowers he found had been destroyed. Meanwhile, the warehouse was engulfed in flames, and police and firefighters arrived and began urgently putting out the fire. One of the police officers, Park Jung-geun, looked around, trying to figure out what was going on, and saw beaten people lying by the trees. Meanwhile, Ravis was heading home. Minho followed him, a little confused by this unusual girl walking alongside them. At that moment, the MC realized that Banbei and his uncle were using him. He would get revenge on them for this when he returned. Shion asked, "Are you sure you don't need to go to the hospital?" MC replied, "Yes, he's lazy." Shion smiled and thanked Minho. He pressed SOS just in case, but he didn't expect him to come. Ravis asked, "What?" He meant that. Actually, it was an accident. Street grabbed his mouth and laughed out loud. She whispered, "Are you really saying it was an accident, Mr. Ravis?" A while ago, a voice was heard on the street. "This is the road to their lair, right? If not, she'll end up like her buddies." Jae-hee replied, "Is he doing this because I'm Shion as his friend? That's why he went so far?" Ravis asked, "What? They captured him, Shion? That's why he didn't show up at school." Jae-hee screamed, "What? If not for his friend, then why at all?" MC looked at his phone screen and saw a signal on the side. Street whispered, "You can't honestly say it was an accident. That's not how you build human relationships. He's not planning on returning to the demon world anytime soon. This boy is now looking at Lord Ravis as a hero who came to save him." Shion looked at Street and asked, "By the way, who's that with him?" MC asked again, "Her? She's his subordinate. Her name is Street." Shion thought about it. A subordinate? Could it be Minho? He asked him to listen. He wants to ask something, can he? The fact that he suddenly changed so incredibly, and this subordinate is wearing strange clothes. By any chance? He shook with excitement and thought, Minho has definitely joined some kind of gang. He hoped that he wouldn't get involved with bad guys. MC thought, in the future, many will hunt his servant. MC said, yes, it won't be possible to hide it forever. That's right. That's exactly what he thought. He is the son of the great demon king, who descended from the demon world, Ravis Vindica. Shion stared at him in confusion, and asked again, who? MC replied, well, that's it. Now that he found out, he'll have to help him with his business. Shion asked again, the son of the great demon king? What nonsense. He looked at his lap and screamed, what's going on? Street was lying on his legs in the form of a cat and rubbing against him. MC said, Street, let her explain to him. He's been fighting all day and is tired. Street said, yes, now let him listen to her carefully. Shion stared at her in fear and thought, the cat is talking. He lost consciousness. After a while, the guy said, he took everyone. He's leaving for the station first. Youngmoo lowered his head and thought, this idiot. He could have killed him. He could have killed him. Detective Cha turned around and asked, who is he? Unauthorized entry. The man in the robe ordered him to be quiet. He pushed the detective to the ground and walked on. Bauer approached the car and said, poor child, how pathetic he looks. Youngmoo screamed, Mr. Bauer, he's his. Bauer told him to go, they'll talk. At that moment, Jungin looked at the candy and thought, there was a message that all the dealers were neutralized. Who did this? Besides, this mind-altering candy gifted by the Ministry of Health, and it's already widely distributed among young students. She said, what terrible idiots. She looked to the side and saw a detective who was trying to get up from the ground. He said, my head is splitting. Jungin ran to him and screamed, Detective Cha, is he okay? The detective replied, the car. Let her check the car. Jungin looked into the car and said, this can't be. What the hell? Where did that idiot go? After a while, Youngmoo was on his knees and screaming, Mr. Bauer, he's asking for another chance. If he gives him more, if he takes more, he might kill this idiot. Bauer asked, does he even know how much those burned flowers are worth? If only he knew how much he suffered collecting those people. That's why there was no need to trust pathetic people. His precious flowers. Youngmoo asked for another chance. He will definitely destroy that idiot. Bauer squeezed the flower and hit Youngmoo with it. He screamed loudly and fell to the ground. He screamed, nightmare, his eye. Bauer asked if he remembered the blood oath he made to him. Let him prove his final loyalty with that flower. At that moment, Jae-hee said, she has to survive. Nightmare. She just needs to take the crypto wallet and get out. Where is it, Nightmare? A guy entered the room and said, he went to the office but the police were there. He decided to check here just in case, and she ended up here. Jae-hee screamed, what's going on? What the hell is he doing? The guy looked distraught and said, she did this to his forehead. Candy. Let her give him more. Jae-hee thought, what a psycho. How much of this did he eat? She grabbed a stick and screamed, where did he come from? He hit her in the stomach and she screamed loudly. Jae-hee fell to the floor and clutched her stomach. The guy's eyes slid in different directions and he said, you fool. Let her give him candy. He arched and screamed, blue bow. Jae-hee burst into tears and thought, she doesn't want to die so horribly. The guy's face turned into black mana and a voice rang out, Ravis definitely won't like this. Jae-hee asked, who is he? She asked him to save her. Banbei asked him to forgive her, that he doesn't have the strength for this. And if she is destined to go to hell, she needs to accept it, right? Jae-hee said, a nightmare. Hell, he says? Bambi said, but he will leave her body here. After a while, Ini said, welcome. Her younger brother, Varkan. After sending Ravis to the human world, he seemed to have something in mind. How dare he do this to her son? Varkan smiled and asked, have they found out about him? No, there's no need to worry so much. Ravis is already an adult. She thinks he sent him away empty-handed. He hid the demon bloodstone well in his body. Ines screamed. What? The demon bloodstone? Has he completely lost his mind? Does he want to trumpet to the whole world that the son of the great demon king is in the human world all alone? Varkan asked. Sister, maybe it's time for her to trust Ravis? Ines frowned and replied. It's not that she doesn't trust Ravis, she's worried about what's happening in the world, where even the slightest crack can bring everything down in this current unstable world. Varkan folded his arms and said, Ravis is stronger than she thinks, sister. He went into it, warlike in his fighting power. Ines hit him in the head with her fist and screamed, he's an idiot. That's the problem. If Ravis's soul is harmed even a little, they're both dead. Does he understand? Varkan screamed. How old is he? And she's still hitting him in the head. He ordered Banbei to search through all the magic books, but he needs to find a way. How to get rid of all the elder sisters in this world. Ines ordered him to shut up. She doesn't need a crazy brother like him. Banbei asked them to calm down, and Ines grabbed Varkan by the neck. Banbei thought, that idiot Ravis. He managed to survive in such conditions. After a while, Shion said, he really is a demon. I mean he. MC replied, people really call them that. Street thought happily. He said, them. Shion asked a question. Now that he knows about this, will he go to hell after death? Ravis replied, hell is here, and if he goes with him to the demon world, no one will touch him. The only heir to the great demon king, he Ravis, is his master. Shion screamed, no, there is no need to protect him. He doesn't want to go to such a place. MC frowned in displeasure and said that as soon as he gets home, the first thing he will do is rip out Banbei's eyes and suck out all the liquid from them. Shion asked, then what happened to the real Minho? Street replied, he was destined to die anyway. Officially, they can only use the bodies of such people as a dungeon. Shion pursed his lips and holding back tears, said, how so? Why was Minho destined to die? MC looked at him and asked why he was upset. He will live for a couple more decades, and they will all meet together in the demon world. Shion said, so it's almost a done deal that he will end up in the demon world. Ravi said, people have too much imagination. The demon world is a very fun place. Isn't that right, Street? She replied, yes, that's exactly it. Torn human flesh and screams fill the entire demon world. Their homeland saturated with the smell of blood. Shion asked her to stop. MC said, that's still a long way off. No need to worry and behave with him like before. And no need to talk too much. Shion replied fearfully, okay. MC said, by the way, my whole body aches again. He went. Street asked him to wait for her. Mr. Ravis? After a while, he went home and grabbed his head. He said, his head is splitting. He thought maybe he used too much of the demon bloodstone's power. Mina screamed joyfully. Little brother, she took the cake with a candle and screamed, happy birthday. MC thought, birthday? Mina said, she and mom tried hard. They've been preparing it since yesterday. However, she can't vouch for the taste. She put a party hat on his head and said, mom and dad will be here soon. Mina took out her phone and said, well, first a celebratory selfie. MC looked at the bandage on her face and asked, what's that? Mina smiled and replied, some hooligans were just bothering a grandma with a cart. She intervened. No big deal. Ravis thought she was doing useless things. He thought she was weak, but she was trying to help others. She was weird. Mina said, okay, bro, he's probably hungry. Let him try a piece. She shoved the spoon with the cake into his mouth, and his eyes widened in surprise. He wondered what that taste was. White, soft, and even sweet. He grabbed his face and closed his eyes with pleasure. At that moment, a loud scream was heard. What a nightmare. He ordered to find out where all those idiots who threw eggs at him lived. He will kill them all. The assistant answered, yes, yes. Taesik turned around and hitting the assistant, he screamed, no, he will kill him first. He couldn't stop even such a small thing? Juhi grabbed his hand and asked him to stop. He hit her and ordered her to let go. Mina ordered him to stop. Mom is not to blame for anything. Taesik irritably asked, what? He saw the cake on the table and asked, what is it? Dad came back pelted with eggs during the election campaign, and they are here with a cake. He pushed Mina away and said, they have completely lost their fear. He threw the cake off the table and screamed, if only he were their real father. Would a piece of food have gone down his throat? Juhi, with tears in her eyes, begged him to stop. She said, it's Minho's birthday today. What other birthday is there in this situation? MC looked indifferently at Taesik's displeased face, who turned around and shouted, they are terrible idiots. He slammed the door, and MC looked around and thought, it's his cake. He dared to touch it. Juhi burst into tears and asked her to forgive her children. Mina clung to her and said, no, Mom, it's not her fault. MC turned around and thought, this idiot, he's way too arrogant. After a while, Taesik was sitting in the office and shouting loudly, that idiot Youngmoo isn't sending any money and won't get in touch. Where is he even? To take even one photo with Deputy Park, you first have to make an advance payment. Youngmoo, you terrible idiot. The guy nodded and replied, they will do everything in their power to find him, sir. Taesik said that he was already pissed off that he had to bow to such an idiot for the sake of ratings, and these idiots were acting like complete jerks. An assistant ran into the office and shouted, sir, Mina's video is currently breaking the internet. Taesik asked again, what? What other video? The assistant handed him a tablet and told him to look at this. The guy was holding Mina's cheek, and she was screaming, she filmed everything. Make them stop. The guy asked, who is she to be bothering me? Mina threw his hand away and shouted, who are they to mock grandma and show off? Youngsters. The guy said, she's a crazy idiot. They need to get out of here. Get out of here. What are they staring at? They need to go. Mina approached the old woman and asked, "Grandma, is she okay?" She thanked her, and Taisik asked, "Did something happen to Minna?" The assistant replied, "Yes, sir. If it becomes known now that Minna is his daughter, it will greatly increase his ratings." The reaction in the comments is simply explosive. Taisik grinned and asked again, "Really? But the picture is taking shape quite well." After a while, a voice was heard. "How did such a good face get hidden here? Hanyoung, Hansu, let them come here. How do they like it?" Mina was visible on the screen, and the woman said, "This is Mom's new vessel." Hansu replied, "She is beautiful." Hanyoung looked at her thoughtfully, and Yeonju asked, "What is it? Doesn't she like it?" Hanyoung replied, "Not really." Yeonju asked, "Is she jealous? This child has the face she was looking for. So she will become Mom's new body. Human bodies age too quickly. They become ugly, wrinkled, and wither. But such a perfect new vessel, it is destiny." Hansu said, "What a beautiful doll." He thought, "I wonder what sound it will make if you break it." After some time, news channels were filled with captions about a high school student who saved grandmother. She turned out to be the daughter of a mayoral candidate. The assistant said that this morning, according to ES research, they regained first place in the support ratings. At this rate, their victory in the election is assured. They say that today at 9 o'clock, the news will show a video with her. Taisik said, "News at 9 o'clock? That's great. Who would have thought that a girl talking all sorts of nonsense would bring him such luck? He will have to devote some time to his family. To create a stir, they need to organize charity, volunteer work. We need to plan everything possible in Minna's name." The assistant replied, "Yes, and also, Mr. Candidate." The director of the Knox company, Han Yeonju, called. Taisik asked again, "Han Yeonju, why did they call from Knox?" The assistant replied, "They said they became interested after seeing the video with Minha." Taisik asked again, "Knox? Minna really turned out to be a treasure." After a while, Shion said, He didn't know that Minho's stepfather was a mayoral candidate." MC asked again, "Stepfather? Does he know Jong Minho's family well?" Shion answered, "Minho himself didn't say this, but he only knew that he and Minha got along well. Minho treasured his sister very much." MC raised his head up and said, "Treasured. His uncle told him to take care of those who were necessary for his power." He remembered Varkan and thought how noisy he was. Ravi stopped with his head raised up. He looked down and asked why she was here again. Street was sticking out of a crack in the building and answered, "She'd eaten a little too much these days, that's all." MC asked, "Are all the entrances to the demon world this tight?" "What did Banbei say?" Street handed him a note and said, "Mr. Banbei was not there, but there was a note. It said, 'This is good work. Maybe he'll catch Bauer too at the same time. He'll send him a small gift, so let him go catch him.'" Ravis tore the note into little pieces and screamed, "He's an idiot. He's thinking of using him? He'll finish him off before Bauer, you idiot Banbei." Street asked Mr. Ravis to calm down. Xion looked at his phone screen, where it said Taisik was the leading candidate. He said, "By the way, at this rate, will his father really become mayor? Public opinion is on his side now." MC looked up and asked, "Will such a person swallow up this entire city?" Xion replied, "He won't swallow it up, but he'll say so. He'll take control." Ravi said that his greed is reminiscent of Cineris. Street, maybe Jung Taisik is also Cineris, who came to this hellish human world? Xion asked again, "Cineris?" Street answered, "Cinerises are gluttonous demons that live in the demon world. They eat constantly, so even the inhabitants of the demon world hate them. But Mr. Ravis, she rules this district. And Jung Taisik, he is an ordinary person." MC asked again, "Really? This is suspicious. If such a person becomes the ruler, then the human world is rotten too. In any case, Street, she needs to eat less. Otherwise, she will also turn into Cineris." Street answered with tears in her eyes, "Yes, Mr. Ravis." Xion spoke, "Candidate Jung Taisik, it seems he wants to use Minna, and he doesn't like it." MC thought, Jung Minho and Jung Minna. After a while, he returned home and heard a voice. "What will happen to Minha now?" Yeonju answered, "She has outstanding appearance. Having mastered the basics of dance, she will be able to debut soon, and even become the center of the group." Juhi spoke, "But Minna is still a schoolgirl, and she never said that she wants to become a celebrity." Taisik looked at her and said, "Darling, you don't need to say that in front of the principal. The child has innate talent, and hiding it would be a mistake." He apologized to the director. His wife is a bit timid. The MC approached them, and Juhi looked up at him. Yeonju asked her not to worry. At Knox, they will do everything possible to help her combine studies and work. Today's idols are different from the old ones. They pursue idol activities and still get into the universities they want. Ravis looked at Hansu, who was closely watching Minha, and wondered what kind of guy he was. Taisik opened the folder with the contract and asked, "So, does that mean he just needs to sign this contract?" Yeonju replied, "Yes. This is the document that will illuminate Minha's future and his, a contract with the Knox agency." Minha stiffened greatly and continued to sit with her head down. Yeonju noticed the MC and asked, "Is he Minha's brother?" She was glad to meet him. She was the representative of the Knox agency, Han Yeonju. MC looked at her and remained silent, and Taisik cried out in displeasure. "Jung Minho, he won't say hello?" Yeonju replied, "It's fine, Mr. Candidate. Kids these days are all like this." MC thought Minho treasured Minha very much. He remembered Varkan's words. "Ravis, he's always on his side." MC screamed, "What's this all about?" Varkan ordered him to listen carefully. "This world is full of enemies who thirst for the ruler's power. But he is the heir who must continue the will of this world's ruler, Gamadar's brother. He bears a huge responsibility, so he must be able to rally his people around him." Ravis replied discontentedly, "He can handle it just fine alone." Varkan laughed loudly and said, Let him talk like that now, but one day he will meet those to whom his heart will involuntarily reach out, and then he himself will not notice how he has changed. Ravis replied he hates such difficult conversations. He suggested practicing instead. Farkan laughed joyfully and said, he's just like him, nephew. The MC then placed his hand on his sister's shoulder and said, Jong Mina, does she really want this? Mina looked up at him and asked, brother? Ravi said, if she's forcing herself, then let her speak up. He'll sort it out. Mina lowered her head again and recalled memories from her life. Tasik hit her mother and screamed, what? She's leaving? Ungrateful. He took her in. No matter how much she kicks, she won't take the children. He grabbed her by the hair and continued screaming. She knows they're on his family register, right? Juhi asked him to let them go, and he shouted, well, let her try to leave. They'll see how she can live without a penny. Mina stepped forward and shouted, they have what Grandpa left. It's not his uncle. Taisik said irritably, she's talking nonsense again, just like her mother. She's never smelled life. He squeezed Juhi's face and asked, does she know what's most important to survive in this world? Never let go of what's in her hands. Let her remember this well. His daughter, Mina. Currently, Mina answered, yes, she's doing this because she wants to. She wants to try, but she has a condition. If she earns money, she wants it to be in her name. She frowned and thought, she will definitely free her mother and brother from this devil. Tasik asked again, what? A condition? Mina, that goes without saying. After all, this is the result of her efforts. Yeonju said, okay, then maybe they should sign the contract right away. Tasik asked the director to take care of their Mina. She is more important to him than his own life. Juhi asked, Mina, is she sure? She smiled and replied, yes, mom. Let her just believe in her. And thank you for your concern, brother. He looked back at her silently. After some time in the car, Yeonju said, the more she looks, the more perfect she is. Her new vessel, her appearance, her gaze, and even her innocence, so rare in their days. She likes everything about her. Hansu said, but this Jong Minho, he seemed unusual. Yeonju asked, Hanyoung, what does she think? She answered, Mina's brother has a special aura. She thinks he's not human. Yeonju chuckled and asked, if their Hanyoung thinks that, then maybe he's a stalker from the demon world? Hansu asked, Mom, if it's a follower, maybe he should deal with him? Yeonju replied, no, it's too early. Rash actions can cause big problems. While they watch, the main thing now is Mina. Hansu grabbed his head and screamed heart-rendingly, that idiot's look. He wants to tear him to pieces. Yeonju told him to have patience. The moonless night will come soon. Once she performs the ritual and makes Mina hers, he can do whatever he wants with this Minho. Hansu looked at her and happily asked, really? She promises? Yeonju answered, of course. It's a gift from mom. She promises, son. Hanyoung asked, Mara, what about her? Yeonju's eyes widened in surprise and asked, what? Mara? Hanyoung, let her never say that name again. She is Hanyeonju. No, now she will be reborn as Jongmina. Neither the great demon king nor the 12 black thrones. No one will stop her. She will not fail this time. After a while, Mina approached the building and exhaled. She thought, she can do it. She went inside and Yeonju asked for everyone's attention. She wants to introduce them to Mina, who has become part of their family from today. Everyone has seen her on social media, right? Mina will be the center of their agency's new group, Zara. The girl frowned and said, Director, how did this happen so suddenly? She's been training for the center position all this time. Yeonju replied, Ha-yeon, she worked hard. Mina will be the center now, so let her help her. She started to leave and wished Mina good luck. Mina replied, yes. As soon as she left the room, Ha-yeon asked with displeasure, is this Dad's connections? Mina looked at her questioningly. And Ha-yeon asked, isn't she the daughter of a mayoral candidate? It must be convenient to get by through connections. She stole the center position, which she worked hard for 4 years. She said she won't go if they don't give her the center. Mina answered, no, she. Ha-yeon didn't listen to her and slapped her face. She screamed loudly, what do you mean no? They'll see how far she can get with her connections. Minho grabbed her face, where blood was appearing. Yeonju opened the door to her office and heard, this is brutal. Will mom be furious? Hansu pointed at the screen and said, Mom, let her see. Yeonju asked, what happened? Hansu screamed. Ha-yeon scratched Mina's face. Blood, there's blood. Yeonju said irritably, this fool is worse than an insect. She dared to damage her precious vessel. After a while, a voice rang out in the park. So Mina will be debuting? Cool. Nox is a pretty famous agency, right? With luck, they can take over the entire human world. Shion asked. Miss Street, does she know everything? She replied. After all, she has lived in the human world for 200 years. MC folded his arms and said, if that's what his sister wanted, it's none of his business. But that female director and those who came with her, they irritate him. He didn't sense any demonic energy, but they dared not look away. Perhaps they are demons hiding in the human world. Street said the longer demons live in the human world, the easier it is for them to hide their demonic energy. It couldn't hurt to be careful. Mr. Ravis, he also doesn't need to look at everyone in Minho's body like that. Shion said, that's right, Minho. No one will like it if he looks at them like that. Ravis said, in any case, they are suspicious. Even if he doesn't have demonic energy, he couldn't help but recognize a demon. Shion said, and he couldn't find Bauer either. MC got angry and shouted, Street, let her take this guy to the demon world immediately. Let her send him to a hellish training camp. Street shouted, yes, she understands. Shion shouted, stop threatening already. He already knows that not everyone can get in there. MC thought that since he can't properly use the power of the demon bloodstone, now every dog respects him. Ravas asked, Street, did she figure out how to restore the power of the demon bloodstone? Street happily answered, yes. As he ordered, she found a way to restore Lord Ravas's magical power. He replied, okay, then he will restore the magical power, and she and servant number 1 should find out about Han Yeonju and those twins. Street replied, yes, it will be done. Shion puzzledly thought, he's a servant? After a while, Haiyan walked down the street and cried. She wiped the tears from her cheek and said, "It shouldn't be like this." She prepared for 4 years. Suddenly, the sound of a sword was heard behind her and she turned around in fear. Haiyan asked, "Who is there?" Hanyong was walking towards her, and Haiyan fearfully asked, "Hanyong, what happened? Did she do something wrong? Maybe it's because of Minna, she's apologizing." She was just so angry at that moment. Hanyong attacked her and drops of blood splattered everywhere. Hanyong said, "Why did she hit her in the face? Mom doesn't like that." Some time ago, a couple was walking down the street. The man patted his wife on the head and said, "Yeonju, you don't need to walk so late." He's worried. She smiled and said, "Dad bought chicken for their twins and is already on his way home. How can she just sit at home and wait?" Her husband said how cute she was. Are those really their twins who want to eat? Isn't that what his wife wants? She laughed sweetly in response. At that moment, Mara was watching them from the sewer manhole. After a while, Yeonju slept restlessly and tossed and turned in her sleep. She opened her eyes and saw Mara in front of her, who laughed and said, "She really likes it." Yeonju screamed in fear. What was going on? Mara told her to be quiet. She would wake everyone up. There was no need to worry about the children. She would take care of them. She just needed the children. Yeonju screamed in fear and thought, no, her children. She stopped resisting when Mara filled her body. She laughed loudly, which woke up her husband and asked, "What was that noise?" He looked at her puzzled and asked, "Darling?" Yeonju grabbed him by the neck and stuck him out the window. He screamed in fear. "Darling, what is she doing?" Yeonju asked. "Is he her husband? He looks disgusting. How can one live with someone like that?" The man screamed with tears in his eyes. "Who is she?" She let go of his hand from his neck and asked, "Why should he know?" The man fell down and screamed loudly, "No, Yeonju." He crashed, and Mara grabbed her stomach and laughed. She said, "This body is hers now." After a while, a loud scream was heard in the maternity ward. Mara kicked the doctor in the face and screamed, "Oh my god, it hurts so much." The obstetrician asked, "What is she doing?" "Let her calm down, you woman in labor." Mara ordered him to shut up and get this abomination out of her quickly. Get it out before it kills them all. This is all because of that idiot Inis. After a while, the doctor asked in fear, "What's going on?" "Children. It can't be." After a while, Mara clutched her stomach in displeasure and said, "The body after childbirth is completely worthless. Let them look at this disgusting belly. When will it go away?" Hansu reached out to her and said, "Mom." She kicked him in the face and said, "Since they took her magical power, they must repay. How long will they crawl? Let them grow faster and protect her, until she finds a vessel capable of completely containing her soul." People were talking. They understand that she is in shock over her husband's death, but it's still too much, don't they think? The girl looked at her and said, "Sympathy is not endless. She's not the same Yeonju she used to be." Someone asked, "What about the kids?" The girl replied, "She doesn't even show them. She thinks she rarely even comes home." Another girl said, "She got pregnant with such difficulty and was so happy." Mara put her hand on the guy's cheek and asked, "Does he work in television? Does that mean he knows a lot of handsome guys?" She released a dark mana from her mouth and he replied, Well, yes." He lost consciousness and Mara thought, Inis, even this human hell is full of young and beautiful things. She will make them all her own, and one day she will kill her with her own hands. Currently, Mara was crying and saying, "Detective." Ha Yi-yang was supposed to be the center of the debut group. She was the most talented and everyone loved her. The detective asked if the victim had enemies among her colleagues. Maybe someone was stalking her? Mara started coughing and said, "Well, that's her." The detective asked, "Director, is she okay?" Mara answered, "She herself isn't." She coughed and Hansu said, "Detective. He thinks it's best to call it a day." The director treated her like her own daughter. Hanyong suggested that he talk to the other trainees first. Detective Cha replied, "Yes, he understands. Then they will go." "They are going, Detective Park Jong-un." She replied, "Yes." She turned around and looked carefully at this family. As soon as they closed the door, liquid with insects poured out of Mara's mouth. She asked, "Terrible detective, what is he trying to find, rummaging around everywhere?" "How much did she pay them? Where are the bosses looking?" Hansu said, "Mom, he'll just get mad and stop." Mara said, "This body is already rotting. She's hurrying as fast as she can." This girl Ha Yi-yang dared to damage her vessel. Hansu hugged her and asked, "Mom, is she worried?" He would quickly prepare Jong Minha's body. "No need to be nervous, okay?" Mara frowned and replied, "Okay, let him start quickly." After a while, a voice rang out. "They've heard of Ha Yang, haven't they?" "What a crazy person." Hansu interrupted and asked, "Or maybe she's crazy. There are so many crazy people in the world. To attack a schoolgirl with a knife in the middle of the street. He's worried about their safety, and the atmosphere needs to be improved. They'll be living in a dorm starting tomorrow, so let them prepare before coming." Mina asked again, "A dorm, is it necessary?" Hansu asked, "Are there any reasons to refuse?" She didn't know that cohabitation for idols is a law. Let them become one, like his body. Mina said, "But she thought, if she's not at home, her mom and brother." Hanyang nodded and said, "She wants a lot. If she absolutely can't, then she'll be hers." Hansu grabbed her shoulders and told her to calm down. He mentally asked, "What? And what would she do? If she leaves even a scratch on her face, Mom will kill her." He asked Minna to understand. Hanyong treasured Haiyang very much. She's super sensitive now, so there's no need to anger the ugly girl and obey, okay? The principal probably explained everything to the parents, so let them pack their things and gather here tomorrow, okay? The girls answered, "Yes." Mina thought about living together. She's already worried because her brother has changed lately. After a while, loud screams were heard from the house. Xian was lifting dumbbells and screaming with effort. Ravi's looked at him and thought, this is what he calls training. His demonic energy is gradually strengthening, but even if he can suppress a person using demonic energy, facing a demonic beast in this state will be difficult. Banbei is an idiot. If he wants to use it, he should at least teach him how to control the demon bloodstone. Recently Banbei, he was lying on the bed and saying he needs to write in a letter how to control the demon bloodstone. He wrote a note, his dear friend Rabis. For him, still so weak, he has 2 gifts. The first, how to control the demon bloodstone. Originally, the demon bloodstone was designed to control the magic of many creatures, but he modified his stone so that it completely transfers the magic contained in his soul to the human body. This power will only be fully revealed when the demon bloodstone is shattered. Banbei cried out joyfully. This will break when he gets a good punch in the eye. He continued writing, and the second gift. He sent that child. Let him forgive him. He loves him. He needs to take care of their friend. Banbei thought, here. Now you just need to give this letter to Raviz. Let him read carefully and be strong. MC didn't read his letter and just tore it to shreds. Currently, Raviz was training and thinking, maybe the method was described in that letter? Suddenly, a cry was heard. Street, Mr. Raviz. Mr. Raviz, trouble. MC looked at her and thought, is she running on 2 legs? He asked, what else? Street answered, that Hanyunju he asked to know about, and the twins. MC asked, what's up with them? She answered, Mara, that director Hanyunju. She's really Mara. Shion asked again, Mara, who is she? Street screamed. She's the Witch of Greed, one of the 12 Black Barons. It seems Mara Belayax has taken over a human body and is living in this one. MC smirked and said, so that's where she's been hiding. The girl said, Ines, the most beautiful goddess of the demon world. Even her silent lips are beautiful. How can one become so beautiful? Ines replied, to become beautiful, one must first learn to speak the truth, right? The girl said happily, and it's true. Her every word is like the singing of birds. She spoke only the truth, which means she will become more beautiful. The other girl said, she's forcing her daughter to learn the art of insults so that she can be at least a little like Lady Ines. She wants to teach the child that words are a weapon and a sign of dignity. Ines extended her hands towards them and said, that's how. She bestows the blessing of eloquence upon the domain of her ancients. The girl cried out joyfully, thank you, Lady Ines. Mara looked at them with displeasure and said, they are engaging in nonsense. The girl smiled and said, Miss Beliax, she is also beautiful. Mara thanked her and said that she would also give her daughter a blessing. Let her die, wallowing in a bloody mess of desires. The girl clutched her mouth in fear and widened her eyes. Mara thought, she will remember her words. She will not leave this like this. Ines, currently, Street asked, so Mara Beliax felt inferior to Miss Ines? Raviz replied, according to his mother, this has been going on since childhood. Of course, his mother didn't care at all. They say that barely having become one of the 12 Dark Dukes, she was caught stealing the source of demonic souls and fled to this human hell. Shion adjusted his glasses and asked why this witch approached Mina in particular. Maybe she knows that he is Raviz? MC answered, unlikely. If she knew, she wouldn't have left him alone until now. In any case, in his current body, he's no match for her, and her children are probably no slouch. Street said, then we need to strengthen the demon bloodstone quickly. She'll start preparing right away. The first stage of preparation for the witch hunt, cleansing the area. After some time at the store, Juhi said, Minha, if she wants to quit, let her say so now. As soon as she entered there, trouble started. She felt uneasy somehow. Mina smiled and replied, it's okay, Mom. Boss Hansu says the culprit will be caught soon. Apparently, it was a murder without a motive. Juhi said, she's always dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. Mina looked towards where the dog food stood and thought it would take too long to make her dream come true. She wants to get Mom out of that hellish house as soon as possible, on her own. She smiled and said, Mom, chances like this rarely come along, and dreams change. She will become famous and make a ton of money. Juhi said, but if she lives in the dorm, they will hardly see each other. Mina asked her not to worry about her. After the elections, her stepfather will also calm down. Juhi sadly raised her eyebrows and asked Mina to ask her. If she hadn't married again, they wouldn't have to suffer so much. Mina put her hand on her shoulder and told her not to say that. Mom, it was also hard for her to raise her and her brother at such a young age. It's not her fault that Dad died. Besides, that uncle treated them so well before the wedding. Both she and they were all deceived. Juhi said, Mina. She smiled and asked her mom to wait a little. She will try, okay? After a while, loud screams were heard in the amusement park. MC wiped his lips and said, they are weak people. What's so scary about that? Shion said, Minho, does he vomit so deliciously because he is of the demon race? MC screamed, he just ate something stale. Shion told him to wipe his mouth first and then talk. And why did he even go skating? Ravis screamed, nightmare. He thought he would never sit down again. After a while, they approached a building with dark, dried up trees and MC asked, Street, is it really here? She answered, yes, Mr. A. Absolutely. Recently, one of the demons imprisoned in the human world slipped away from observation, but her keen senses helped find him. Ravi's asked what the demon's name was. Street answered, his name is Scream. He has the ability to turn human screams into magical power. He converts cries of horror and suffering into frequencies of the demon world and fuels himself with magic. Therefore, the most effective way to lure him out would be with the help of the one who screams the best. MC asked again, is that so? He looked at Shion and said, finally, he'll be useful too. Shion screamed in fear. Him? He doesn't know fear. He's never screamed in fear in his life. Ravis grabbed Shion and said, they'll go inside and talk. Shion, terrified, asked him to stop. Street said she would guard the entrance. Good luck. They went inside and looked around, and MC asked, why are they afraid of this? It's just decorations. Shion asked again, maybe because of Street's stories? She feels a strange aura. There really is something here. Ravi said, they came to catch this something. Stop panicking. Suddenly the decoration's head flew down and MC screamed loudly in fear. Shion grabbed his hand and screamed in fear. He asked, did he curse just now? now? He was scared, right? MC ordered him to shut up. He was pretending. He wanted to test the enemy's reaction. So this is the first time in his life he screamed? Shion adjusted his glasses and replied, yes, it seems so. Is this method really the fastest? MC replied, every time there is a reaction to evil in the human world, the magic of the demon bloodstone is released little by little. This means that if you absorb the evil of demons, which is stronger than humans, you can release much more power from the demon bloodstone. Suddenly, the monster's voice rang out. His cry just now was sweet, like bright blood, pure, like a baby's first cry. Shion looked at Scarum in fear and screamed, what is that? Scarum said, his cry is so delicious. Let him scream. Scream louder. Shion asked in fear. Minho, this is the same demon, right? MC grabbed Scarum's hand and told him not to touch it. This is his servant. Scarum asked, who is he? Is he not human? Ravis smirked and invited Scarum to listen to what kind of scream would come out of his mouth. Scarum laughed and asked, does he think a bug like him will survive? He threw MC aside and grabbed Shion, who screamed loudly. Minho, Scarum said, great, that scream. Ravis frowned and clicked his tongue loudly. He thought, now he can only use one hand. He rushed towards Scarum, who asked where he was going. He pushed him away, and Shion fearfully ordered Minho to watch out. Scarum again released his mana towards Shion and said, yes, let him scream even louder. Ravis screamed, let him shut up. His screams only make him stronger. Shion grabbed his mouth and asked for forgiveness. Scarum laughed and said, those eyes filled with horror. You will make earrings out of this and wear it. MC dodged his attack and clenched his fist, asking who here in his opinion is scared. He tried to attack, but Scarum laughed and said, look how he flounders with his short arms. How lovely, simply lovely. MC thought, his jump is also no better than that of an ordinary person. With his body, he can't handle even such a demon. Scarum grabbed Ravis, and Shion kept holding his hands to his face to keep from screaming. He thought, Minho. MC tried to get away and screamed, and Scarum said, there, he created this from his friend's scream. This is for him. If he picks out his brains with this, how sweet will that scream be? MC said, this terrible demon. He won't scream. Scarum asked, really? He offered to test? He reached the tip of his finger towards MC and stabbed it into his eye. Shion thought in fear. No. The shards began to crumble to the ground, and Scarum looked at him, puzzled. MC asked again, what the? Did his eyes brighten? Some time ago, Banbei wrote that he modified the demonic bloodstone to freely channel the demonic power contained within his vengeful spirit into a human body. This power will only be fully revealed after the demonic bloodstone is shattered. Ravis chuckled and thought, Banbei, you idiot, so this is how he hid the release condition? Scarum asked, what's going on? Why can't his claws even gouge out a human eye? MC swung his hand and screamed because he wasn't just any human to him. Scarum narrowed his eyes and MC screamed, Shion, no need to stop, let him scream. Shion responded, but then he'll get even stronger. Ravis ordered him to shut up and scream. Shion clenched his fist and thought, he doesn't know what's going on in his mind, but he can only trust Minho. He took a deep breath and screamed really loudly. Scarum said happily, that sweet sound of screaming. MC thought, thanks to the activation of the demon bloodstone, the seal on his right eye is breaking. Shion continued screaming, and Scarum laughed and said, idiot, he gives him his own strength. This arrogance will be his undoing. MC asked, he slows down when he devours screams, doesn't he? Scarum asked, puzzled. What? Ravis said, now they'll hear his screech. He flew up and attacked Scarum's head. He thought, the shell of the demon bloodstone has broken, and he can clearly feel it. If he continues to absorb the demon's malice, his power will quickly return. A clot of mana hung in the air and disappeared a moment later. MC thought as he had thought, power is accumulating that human medicines cannot compare to. Now that the demon bloodstone has been released, he only needs to absorb malice until he regains his true power. Shion spoke fearfully. That demon, he thought it had absorbed him. Is he okay? Ravi smirked and replied, of course, they'll go devour the next demon. After a while, in the room, Mina said, thank you for seeing me out, Vice Principal. Hanyoung nodded and said, let her unpack. She's not allowed to leave until training starts. Mina timidly replied, yes. Hanyoung slammed the door, and Mina pursed her lips, clenched her fists, and thought, she can do it. She looked up and saw a camera in the corner of the room. Myra stuck her hand into the screen and said, Hansu, Mom is so worried. He hugged her and she said, even if she transfers to that body, he will obey Mom, right? Hansu replied, of course, Mom. Then he begins. After a while, Street turned around and said, that smell of blood, really? She congratulated him on the return of his magical power. Lord of the blood of all living things, Lord Ravis Vindica. Let bloody trails follow him wherever he steps. She, Street, will become his shadow and follow him to the very edge of darkness. MC told her not to overdo it. He ordered her to tell him the coordinates of the next targets, and she herself was to track down Mara so that he could deal with her as soon as he gained strength. Street replied, yes, this demon feeds on the evil energy emanating from human lungs. Apef's soul. He was standing next to the smoking man and laughing joyfully. He said, more, more. Suddenly, MC grabbed Apef by the head and ordered him to follow him. The monster asked fearfully, what is this? MC quickly slammed Apef to the ground and said, a nightmare. What a disgusting stench. So next, this demon absorbs the energy of drunk people. Askra. Ravis chopped up his opponent's body and said, he also smells something disgusting. Shion said, he didn't think there were so many demons in the human world. By the way, why should demons live off the power of people? MC looked at him and replied, demons who escape to the human world, they lose magical power when they cross the border. Therefore, in order to survive, everyone must find a replacement for it. Otherwise, they will disappear. Shion answered fearfully, I see. So possession by spirits is not just superstition. Ravis asked, the magical power seems to be sufficient. Maybe they should try it? Shion looked in surprise at the mana Ravis released and cried out, Minho, what is this? MC replied, finally getting it back. His Damruckle. Although it's not a full summon. Shion turned to him and asked if it was safe to send Street alone. Ravis replied, no need to worry. She has very little magic power, so it will be difficult for them to notice her. After a while, she was hanging on a branch in the form of a bat. She opened her eyes and cried out, she's hungry. I could die of hunger like this. She widened her eyes and cried out, it's this. She quickly flew forward and grabbed a maggot. Street cried out, we got it, the creature. She frowned and asked, what is this? She thought, it's definitely a bug imbued with Mara's magic. She needed to tell Lord Ravis immediately. After a while, a car drove out of the parking lot, inside which Hansu was holding Mina by the shoulders and shouting, Mom, he knocked her out. He was good, wasn't he? Mara laughed and said, yes, faster. Hansu ordered Hanyang to go. Go! Minna began to wake up, and at that moment, Street was screaming loudly, holding a worm in her mouth. MC told her to spit out the bug and talk. He didn't understand anything. Street returned to her usual appearance and shouted, Mr. Ravis, let him look at this. MC asked again, what is this? It stinks. Street said, these are definitely Mara's parasites. It seems that when Mara crossed the border, she lost her body and possessed a human. MC said that since parasites appear, it means Mara needs a new body. Mara's demonic soul cannot last long in a human body. Shion asked then, was it really the case that last time she tried to recruit Mina to take her body? Ravis folded his arms and answered discontentedly, it's quite possible. Mara had always been obsessed with everything young and beautiful. He sipped and said, even though she's much older than his mother, the old woman should calm down. Shion asked again, how old is Mom? MC replied, converted to human years, somewhere around 6,375? Shion exclaimed, what? And how old is he? Ravis frowned and said, exactly how old is he? As a child, his uncle once showed him the human world. Back then, people were building something. He remembered Varkan laughing joyfully and asking, does he see it? It's the temple people are building in his honor. An insignificant demon god like him could only dream of such a thing. Did he understand, nephew? MC responded discontentedly, thinking, what a novelty. Bambi looked at him and said, Lord Varkan, as far as he knows, these people don't worship him, but the god Ra from the heavenly world. Varkan grabbed him by the hair and shouted, what? Why are they worshipping the one he beat up? Bambi asked, how should he know? Varkan shouted, anyway, he won, so it's his. He laughed joyfully and hugged the boys. Currently, Shion said, they say the pyramids were built 4,000 years ago. This exceeds all expectations. Street asked, what to do? Lord Ravis's younger sister might be eaten by Mara. MC nodded to her and thought, Minza will be eaten. After some time, at an abandoned construction site, Mara said, a moonless night. This is the night when she was born. The sky that shows nothing. Hansu asked, Mom, is this here? Mara climbed the stairs with Hanyang's help and answered, yes, the demon world and the human world. And a crevice hidden from the eyes of the heavenly world. She widened her eyes in surprise and asked, what is this? She saw many bodies lying on the floor with flowers stuck into them in front of her. Bauer looked in their direction and asked with displeasure, what are they doing here? What are they anyway? Mara asked again. She is Mara Beliax, and this is the body she chose. Bauer widened his eyes in surprise and cried out, what, Mara? He grinned and said, she used to occupy the Black Throne, and now she's a fugitive, unable to even summon a normal monster. This place is his now, so let her get out. Hansu approached the corpse and asked, who are these idiots? Bauer ordered him to be careful and not to step on the flowers. Mara exhaled and said, yes, she is nothing now. She barely has enough strength even to maintain a human body. That's why she prepared herself too. Her children. Who will protect her? Bauer asked, a cross between a human and a demon? A parent who can't protect their children is a pitiful sight. Mara asked, what does it matter to him? She gave them life, so they should do their duty. She ordered him to take these stinking weeds and get out of here. Bauer got angry and asked, weeds, his sacred flowers. He rushed to the attack and asked, why doesn't anyone understand this? Hansu kicked him in the chin and said, what is he doing? Mara laughed lightly and said, he's doing well. Her son. Some time ago, Mara said how sorry she was, her source of demonic souls. How hard she stole it. She stuffed a bottle of liquid into the children's mouths and ordered them to swallow. The source of demonic souls is water from the valley of Zarnakim, the deepest place in the demon world. It is a place filled with the tears of the god who created this world. This water can be called a source of magical power. It is the only holy water that can quench her greed. Gamadare Vindika. He has appropriated the source of demonic souls, although it does not belong to him. Vile idiot. It's a pity, of course, but nothing can be done. Let them drink this and protect her, until she finds Sir Kale hidden in the human world. After a while, Street and the guys ran through the forest, and Shion asked, is she sure they went here? Street replied, the strong stench of Mara is getting closer. Here. Definitely here. Shion asked, is there a building in such a place? Street sighed and said, her nose is useless now. Shion said, Minho, let him definitely save Minna. He grabbed him by the neck and said, okay, they're coming. Shion asked again, what? Him too? They'll only get in the way. Ravis asked again. Get in the way? He'll make an excellent human shield. Shion asked again. What? A shield? Street screamed. Lord Ravis, she's begging him to destroy Mara. MC told her to come in too. They need a numerical advantage. Street screamed. Her too? She thought, why did she have all this wealth and fame? She should have stayed with Lord Banbei. At that moment, Mina was lying on the floor, and a magic seal was appearing beneath her. Mara said contentedly, good. Hurry, hurry. Bauer was on his knees, begging the Witch of Greed to spare him. She'll definitely need him if she wants to stay in the human world. Hansu asked his mother to give him to him. He has enough troubles as it is. Let him handle every little thing. Bauer replied, yes, yes. Let them order anything, he'll do it. At that moment, a voice rang out. An excellent group had gathered. A scoundrel who betrayed his family, and a fugitive exiled for her greed. And then there are the half-breed twins. The four of them are worth each other. Mara turned around and said, him. Hansu asked in surprise. Mina's brother? Shion asked fearfully. Are these corpses real? MC looked to the side and said, Youngmu. He wondered where he went, and here he is? Shion. If he hadn't saved him, he would have ended up the same way. So from now on, he needs to listen to him. Does he understand? Shion shook with fear and thought disgusting and creepy. This is it, the true demon world. Bauer asked displeasedly, does he know Youngmu? Does that mean he ruined his plans? Mara said she knew he was more than just a human. Hansu asked, can she see? His eyes never fail him. Mom, does she know who this is? Street stepped forward and screamed, it's Lord Ravis Vindika. He slaughtered the Bauer family and was cast down to the human world, the noble and precious only son of the great demon king of the demon world. Mara screamed, what? Ravis Vindika? Is he that prodigal son of Aeneas? Bauer screamed, Ravis Vindika, the executioner who destroyed their kind. He stopped and thought, wait, this is his chance. Now he is not that ruthless killer Ravis, but just a prisoner in a pathetic human body. He will be able to avenge his family with his own hands. Mara screamed, Aeneas? That terrible fool. She decided to interfere with her, even by sending her son to the human world? MC thought, with his current strength, he can't handle three at once. Bauer could strike him in the back at any moment. He thought, he'll have to deal with that idiot later. He ordered Bauer to leave. Bauer screamed, he thinks he's still Ravis from the demon world? He'll do it right now with his own hands. MC screamed, that's enough already. Let him get out of here if he doesn't want to die. Bauer made a frightened sound, and Ravis ordered to tell the demons in the human world that he, Ravis, descended to the human world as the Lord of Blood. Let them sit quietly until he returns, if they don't want to be caught by him or die. Bauer asked, what? He can use magic in a human body? How? He started to run away and screamed, damn it. MC said, old woman, to become younger, you need to endure hellish pain. You can't just go and steal other people's bodies. Mara asked again with displeasure, old woman? He's a little idiot. How dare he? She started coughing up blood, and Hansu said, Mom, she shouldn't overexert herself. She wiped the blood from her lips and said, yes, but she's still curious. The child Aeneas cherished so much. What will her face be like when her children tear him apart? Ravi smirked and replied, he was also curious. What kind of face will she make when she finds out that her children died at the hands of the son of the one she envied her entire life? Mara said, Hansu, Hanyong, which of them will be the first to bring Mom the tongue of this insolent idiot? Hansu created a mace using his chains, and replied, of course he does, Mom. Let her wait a little. Hanyong took out her sword and directed her mana at it. Hansu ordered his sister to stay back. His Venoblade is enough to shut this idiot's mouth. He swung it and tried to attack, but MC quickly dodged the attack. Hanyong swung her sword and ordered her brother to stay back. Hansu angrily ordered her to get lost. She was in the way. Hanyong also angrily told him to shut up and better watch her back. MC thought they had no coordination. He would take advantage of this. He said that before killing him, they would rather tear each other's throats out. Hansu cried out in displeasure. Be careful. She almost hit him. Ravis thought they were interfering with each other's attacks. Hansu was too self-confident and Hanyong was cynical. They were the perfect couple to break them up. He blocked Hanyong's sword and quickly swung his own, causing her to hit it against her brother's weapon. Hansu said irritably, horror, her again. Hanyong tsked in displeasure, and MC swung his sword. He thought, even though they are half-breeds, they have a lot of strength. What did Mara do to those twins? Hansu swung his weapon and shouted, cool Hanyong, but he will cut off this idiot's tongue. He attacked MC and Hanyong said, and she will cut off his head. Okay? MC tried to dodge the attack but was still wounded. Hanyong thought in surprise, did he manage to dodge? Hansu swung his weapon again and shouted, Ravis, he almost died. Be careful, he must die by his hand. The twins headed towards him together, and Hanyong released mana and ordered him to die. Die. Ravis pushed away and jumped back. He thought he didn't have enough magical energy for both of them. It's stupid, but he'll try to provoke them. He said that, and his older sister is strong. Hansu shouted in displeasure. What? Who's the sister? He was born 18 minutes before her. He'll finish him off. MC thought, so effective? He started swinging his weapon, and Hanyong said in displeasure, he's a stupid idiot? Why did he even get into close combat? Hansu ordered her to shut up. They'll bring this idiot's corpse to his mom first. MC thought, okay. The attacks became more furious, but he too was already within the radius of his attack. Ravi swung his sword right over Hansu's head. At that moment, Street tried to attack Mara and screamed, Lady Mara of the 12 Black Thrones, whom she once respected so much. She couldn't control her greed and became such a scary creature. What a disappointment. Mara screamed in displeasure. Who did she call scary? Pathetic fool. Street closed her eyes and thought, now, Lord Xion. He clenched his fists and ran forward. He began to press on the dome that covered Minna. He screamed and thought, how hot? No, is it cold? He closed his eyes and screamed, Minna, please, let her open her eyes. Street fought Mara and screamed loudly. She thought, she will try to delay her, Lord Xion. Let him save Minna. Xion was pushed away from the dome and screamed. He looked at his red palms and began to breathe loudly. He clenched his fist and thought, he's just a human, and he can't do anything, and yet, he can't give up. Xion swung his fist and shouted, Minha, they will definitely save her. He punched the dome, and at that moment, Mara hit Street with her tentacles. She asked, maybe she should stop playing with this pathetic demon game? Street frowned and thought, even with a rotting body, she was capable of such attacks. After all, she was one of the 12 Black Thrones. Mara swung her tentacle and shouted. What? She thought that because she was like this, she could be dealt with so easily? Street flew into the wall and screamed. It hurt. Mara ordered her to watch carefully. What end awaits this worm? Street screamed in fear. No, Master Shion, let him run. He looked questioningly to the side, after which he was pressed to the floor by the viscous liquid. He screamed loudly, and Mara told him to wait. She was using him as a source of energy with him. Shion tried to get up and thought his body wasn't obeying him. Mara extended her hand towards Minha, and releasing mana, said she had wasted too much time because of them. She created a few more seals and screamed loudly. She swears by the blade that cuts through souls, the moon of the vow. She rejects this rotting flesh. Let the flames of greed burn the veins and open the way. Tear apart the gates of the heart and turn life upside down. Let the darkness listen to her. Her vow is fulfilled. Minha's eyes lit up purple, and MC looked at this and screamed, Nightmare. He set mana along the sword and began to attack the twins. He rushed forward and Hanyong screamed, Stop. Hansu cried out in displeasure. No, he's first. Suddenly, a thin energy thread appeared around him and his body was bound by it. He screamed loudly. What? Tape quickly stuck to his mouth and he fell to the floor, trying to say something. Jaehi put her finger to her lips, showing, Be quiet. She looked at him and asked, Is it really okay to torture their brother Ravas like this? At that moment, Mara's body moved towards Mina's body. It completely moved into Mina's body, after which Mara laughed loudly. She said, Finally she got this perfection. She stood up next to Yeonju's dead body and said, This is a fresh body. She stretched her arms forward and said, This feeling, this is it. She will enjoy this beauty forever. Shion screamed in fear. No, Street screamed. Miss Minha. Hanyong tried to attack the MC and asked, Where is he looking? The MC screamed, A nightmare. He frowned and thought, He's too late. Jaehi peeked out from around the corner and said enthusiastically, Rava's brother, those beautiful lips. She said it slightly embarrassedly. His new look is also so incredible. MC put his hand forward and screamed, and the girl clenched her fists and ordered her to come to her senses. Beltia, brother is in danger now, but if she interferes, Rava's brother will see her. Just thinking about it makes her so embarrassed, but she can't just keep admiring. What should she do? Hansu looked at her carefully and tried to crawl out, when suddenly Hanyong saw him and thought, Hansu, who did this to him? MC swung his sword and thought, now. He attacked her, and she screamed, Mom, that fool Hansu. Mara looked to the side and asked, Hansu, what's wrong with him? She opened his mouth and he screamed, Where did that idiot go? He suddenly jumped out. Mara chuckled and asked, Looks like there's a rat here? Hansu asked, Mom, did she succeed? Mara spread her arms wide and asked, How does he like her? Beautiful? Hansu replied, Yes, Mom. She doesn't look like herself at all. Shion said, In the end she took over Mina's body. Is it over now? Street screamed, Lord Ravas. There's still a chance. Mrs. Mina's soul did not disappear completely. MC turned around and asked, What? Street screamed. It's a moonless night. On this night, when the moon has disappeared and the boundary between the human and demon worlds is blurred, magic, contracts, and souls are at their most unstable. Until this night is over, Mara's ritual cannot be considered complete. Lady Mina's soul should still be there. Mina suddenly screamed, Brother Minho, the body is moving on its own. Let him save her. Ravis looked in her direction and thought, Is this Mina's soul? Mara started laughing and said, How funny. How much does she look like the real Minha? MC got angry and thought, Does she dare to mock him? Mara said, Hanyong, Hansu, she is so tired. She suggested killing them all. Hansu screamed, Yes, Mom. Now they will definitely kill him, and they will quickly find and finish off that rat too. MC started fighting them off and thought, so that he could not cope with some pathetic half-breeds and endure such humiliation. Mara asked, Have they been waiting for her? Now, maybe she will eat something tasty and gain strength? Street frowned in displeasure, and Mara licked her lips and said, Well, who should she start the meal with? Shion looked at her in fear, and Mara noticed a round thing on the floor. She looked at it questioningly, when suddenly a small figure of MC appeared from there and bright mana appeared. Mara screamed in fear, What is that? MC turned around and thought, This can't be. Mara cursed and covered her face, unable to stand the stench, and then someone quickly ran to Street and removed the spikes that had chained her to the wall. Street screamed loudly in pain. Then the girl put a special weapon on her hands and ran to Shion, telling her to use it. Seeing her face, Street was very surprised. It was Jaehi. She helped Shion free himself and gave him the weapon, asking him to help these Ravis. He was terrified when he saw her, stepped back and looked at the gun in confusion. Street looked at her hands and asked, Isn't this a weapon created by the power of the demon world? But how did Jaehi get it? Shion was also confused. He took the gun and wondered why she gave it to him. The gun was filled with demonic energy. It suddenly covered his entire body and he screamed in pain, feeling that something was wrong. His heart was pounding, his mind was going haywire, and he was suffocating. Mara, meanwhile, looked at the bomb and exclaimed, Where did that even come from? What were they planning? Suddenly, Street jumped out of the smoke at her, but she reacted quickly and parried her blow, asking, Did she manage to put toys on her hands? Does she think that will change anything? She exclaimed that it was not a toy, and Mara let out a laugh, saying that the outcome was obvious. She was just an abandoned, lesser monster. Street shouted back that it was not the person who abandoned themselves for greed who should say such things to her. She cut off her tentacle, and Mara, stretching her hand to the side, asked with a smirk, So it was not just a toy, but if she just gobbled everything up, it wouldn't matter anymore. She sharply waved her hand, releasing the tentacle, and Street barely managed to dodge. She struck, but the tentacles became harder. She couldn't cut them, which meant Mara had begun to adapt to the body, and the longer this went on, the worse it would be for them. Mara waved her hands, saying that she wondered what a quivering fresh monster would taste like. And then Street noticed something. The umbilical cord connected to Yeonju. She turned to the dome and thought that Mina was an ordinary person. She couldn't accept Mara's essence right away. Because of this, she got distracted. Mara threw her away, and she hit the wall and thought that she needed to cut the umbilical cord connecting her to Yeonju's body. If only she could destroy that magic circle. Xion, meanwhile, began to come to his senses. His breathing evened out, and he glanced at the gun. Wondering what he should do with this, he turned his gaze to the dome, noticed the umbilical cord, and immediately turned his gaze to Mara, thinking, Yeonju's body is connected to the tentacles? In that case, she hasn't fully transferred to Minha yet. The magic circle is needed until the transfer is complete to protect the original body. There's still a chance. He needs to destroy the magic circle. And then his eyes changed shape. He began to see the very structure of the magic circle and realized that it was just geometry. He automatically turned on the control panel and began to act. Geometry is shapes, and shapes can be translated into formulas. Ultimately, a magic circle is simply a structure calculated by numbers. This circle maintains the connection between Yeonju's body and Mina's. He just needs to solve the circle's equation and find a vulnerability. He wrote down the equation and quickly tapped the panel. Analysis of the barrier formula, a cubic polynomial in the center, the mana flow in the form of an S-shaped curve. The core of the seal is hidden at the extremum, which means he needs to differentiate. Noticing what he was doing, Street thought, is this a magic formula? Is Xion hacking the magic circle now? Thanks to Junjaehe's weapon, Xion was also able to analyze magic. Mara hit her with a tentacle and told her to come here. She gritted her teeth, holding it in, and thought that in any case, while Xion was dealing with the magic circle, she had to buy as much time as possible. Meanwhile, he was in the final stage. He had transformed the circle's structure into a matrix form, finding the main diagonal. The mana vector is a symmetrical matrix. If you find the eigenvalue, there's only one vulnerability. He grinned widely. He had found it. The critical point was open. After that, he aimed the gun at the magic circle and fired, saying that the local minimum of this is its doom. A powerful beam of energy shot at the magic circle, and due to the recoil, Xion fell, and the beam at that moment pierced the dome and shattered it. Feeling this, Mara immediately turned around, and Xion rolled across the floor. Then she exclaimed in rage, "What happened to her magic circle?" Laughing loudly, he said that he had calculated everything, and the formula was proven. Everything was according to his formula. The magic circle was destroyed. The energy began to fade, and with it, Xion's consciousness. Mara was simultaneously furious and panicked, because her body hadn't fully transferred yet. Street told Xion that he had done an excellent job. The rest was up to her. Seeing her run toward Yeonju, Mara became frightened and exclaimed, "What is she going to do?" Street swung her weapon, then slashed her sharp claws across Yeonju's body, causing Mara to scream and panic, asking what the hell she was doing. She immediately struck her with her tentacles, throwing her into the wall, then rushed to Yeonju and said that she couldn't let them ruin everything now. She clutched the wound and panicked, exclaiming that this was her precious body. She wouldn't lose a single piece of flesh. Street tried to get up and said that greed grows like a tree, but eventually breaks, unable to bear its own weight, and all sorts of dirt will definitely stick to this fragment. Mara, in a rage, called her an insect and asked what nonsense she was talking about. She would gnaw her to the bone. Street smirked and said that now both they and her greed would burn away and disappear. She looked at Lord Ravaz and asked, "She's right, right?" Right now, he was standing behind Mara, holding her children. Hansu apologized to his mother. That idiot absorbed the red smoke and suddenly became stronger. Mara was scared and thought that this couldn't be true. She remembered that bomb and wondered if that smoke was the catalyst. Jae-hee, meanwhile, hiding behind a pillar, smiled and thought that it was good that she took the blood from Ravaz's body. She was going to keep it forever, but she had no choice. Banbei said that since his new body had a special demon bloodstone embedded in it, if he absorbed the blood from his original body, he could regain some of his original power. So let him accept her gift too, and rage like before. MC grew a single horn and said that it had been a long time since he felt such lightness. Mara cursed, calling her children useless nothings. There are two of them, and they can't handle one? She released the umbilical cords connected to her children's bodies and imbued them with power. They immediately broke free from Ravaz's hands, after which Hansu threw a chain at him and thanked his mother. Now he will definitely kill him. Hanyong swung her swords and pounced on him, after which they struck simultaneously, but he was able to block them with ease. Mara also attacked. She released tentacles and asked why he, an idiot who calls himself the prince of the demon world, risked his life for some person. She is not even his real sister. He parried the blow and told her with a smile that it was because the cake was delicious. She didn't understand what he was talking about, and he said that the cake his sister fed him wasn't a taste of the human world. It was a taste of heaven. Hansu exclaimed that he was talking complete nonsense. He was a demon, so why was he talking about heaven? He pulled out his sword and asked if they had ever fed each other cake. Hanyong exclaimed that he was crazy. She would have just thrown cake in that idiot's face. He swung his sword, cutting her in the neck, and her blood splattered on his face. He licked his lips, and immediately after that, his eyes widened. When they were just kids, They tried to gain Mara's favor in various ways. Han-young approached her, showing her the excellent test results, and Hansu had just finished cleaning and said that he was hungry. Mara, on the contrary, was only irritated. She called them annoying bugs and said that if he was hungry, he should drink water. She left the house, exclaiming at the end that they were no use, and they were left very upset, neither studying nor cleaning. Nothing helped them get praise from their mother. One day they went to a cafe. There was a beautiful girl sitting at the next table, and a man approached her to get acquainted. Mara was envious of her and clicked her tongue in displeasure, telling the children that if it weren't for the two of them, men would approach her too. Let them just look at her fake smile. It irritates her. She told Han-young that her mother doesn't like that idiot, and then an idea occurred to her. She ran towards the girl, tripped, either on purpose or accidentally, and ran right into her, knocking over her coffee. The girl immediately started swearing rudely, and then Mara ran up to her and worriedly asked, "Is she okay?" The girl exclaimed irritably, and what should she do with her clothes now? Mara took her daughter away and apologized to her, saying she'd go buy her something to change into. They left the cafe, and Mara grinned, then hugged Han-young, and happily told her she was so smart, she just adored her. Did she see her face? She'd been pretending to be a beauty, and now she was all wet. Han-young was overjoyed. That day was the first time her mother had praised her. Hansu, of course, also wanted this, and excitedly asked his mother to entrust it to him next time. He could also do it well. She agreed, and then Han-young realized that if you torture those whom her mother envies, she will praise you. If you beat those whom her mother doesn't like, she will praise you. Without a shadow of a doubt, she stained her blade with blood, all for her mother. And then she joyfully asked, "Next time, she will be able to kill too?" She said she will, and her mother hugged her tightly. If you kill the one her mother pointed out, she will give her love. MC saw her memories and chuckled, saying that she raised the children well, and Han-young pounced on him, screaming that she would kill him. Hansu did the same. He exclaimed that he would kill him first, and their mother told them to finish him off quickly. Let them get this idiot out of her sight immediately. Meanwhile, Ravas swung his sword and thought that this was the true form of demons, then swung his blade, cutting off Hansu's arm. He then turned to Mara and smiled, thinking that he was acknowledging that she had value and the right to be killed by him personally. Seeing this look, she was frightened. He became like a beast of the battlefield, Varkan. Hansu fell and clutched his shoulder, screaming in pain, and his sister called him an idiot. He should have been more careful. She attacked Ravas, and he struck with his sword and broke one of hers, asking, "He is her brother after all, so that's why she's worried." Hansu, furious, called her a fool and said that it was all her fault. She should have handled this herself. She turned to him and was about to say a few words in response, and he told her to kill him. Let this idiot die immediately, or he will finish her off. She gritted her teeth in rage and MC swung, smiling as he told these fools to keep fighting. Noticing this, Han-young became frightened. She realized she couldn't block the attack, so she simply grabbed her brother and used him as a shield. The sword dealt him a sweeping wound from his left shoulder to his right side. He fell and screamed loudly in pain, exclaiming that it hurt so much. Blood began to flow profusely from the wound. He panicked and called out for his mother, and Mara clicked her tongue in displeasure, calling him useless trash. She called out to Han-young and ordered her to drop this brat and keep fighting, and her blade collided with Ravas' sword. Hansu felt his life draining. He lay on the floor and called out for his mother, begging her not to abandon him. And then his eyes closed. Mara didn't care about her child. She extended her tentacles to help Han-young and ordered her to finally kill him, to stop resisting in vain. MC batted away her tentacles and thought he had dealt with one, but Mara's body was almost transferred. If much time passed, Mina would be impossible to bring back. He didn't know how much longer this body could withstand, but he had to risk it. He grabbed her sword with his bare hand and pulled her toward him, then grabbed her and lifted her head, exposing her neck. Then he sank his teeth into her skin, and she screamed. As he drank her blood, he looked up at her mother, and she became nervous, unsure of what was happening. He finished, and Han-young collapsed from exhaustion. Then he prepared to lunge, thinking that by absorbing blood to the limit of this body, he would instantly increase his strength. After that, he rushed towards Mara. She immediately released more tentacles and told him to stay back, and he quickly got rid of them with a few swings of his sword. As he approached her, she panicked even more, and, releasing another portion of tentacles at him, she screamed. Why doesn't he die? He swung his sword as fast as he could, getting rid of them, and felt that his body was about to fall apart. It couldn't take it. He felt like he was about to be torn apart, but he was only waiting for this. He broke through her tentacles, reached her back and cut the umbilical cord. Mara turned to him and screamed. Did he decide to ruin everything at the last moment? Immediately after that, Ravas grabbed her by the neck and threw her to the floor, starting to strangle her, and she screamed heart-rendingly, telling him to let her go. He caught his breath and said that it was over. Her rotten life was cut short. She screamed that she couldn't die, not at the hands of someone like him. He gave her one last warning. If she voluntarily left Minha's body now, he would spare her. She stared at him in shock and asked, "Is that true?" He confirmed it and swore on the honor of his father, the great demon king. She realized that this idiot was afraid that she wouldn't leave the body, but would explode along with it. She smiled widely. She felt sorry for this body, but the main thing was to survive and find another. She said that the blood of the great demon king would hardly lie, putting the honor of the family on the line. Let him throw down the sword. If he did, she would do as he wanted. After all, there was no other way out for her now. The blood sword in his hand disintegrated, died. He let her go and told her to leave her body. She frowned, pretending to prepare for this, then smirked for a second and jumped out of Minha's mouth at him, calling him a stupid idiot. He expected this. His hand became demonic, and he immediately grabbed Mara. She was surprised by this, and he asked, she was one of the 12 Dark Barons, and yet she fell for it so easily? To be honest, he didn't know how to get her out of Minha's body. Realizing that she had been deceived, she cursed in rage and screamed, but what about the family and the father's honor that he swore by? He began to pull her out of Minha's body and told her that he only needed to preserve his honor. She began to squirm, telling him to let her go. She didn't want to leave. He smirked, noting that it was a pathetic sight, then pulled the last remnants of the demon out of Minha, and the girl collapsed unconscious to the floor. Mara shook her tentacles and anxiously begged him for mercy, saying she would do whatever he said. She began to beg him, and then she noticed Hanyang rise and take the sword. She was still shaking from exhaustion, and Mara rejoiced, mentally telling her to kill this idiot quickly. Hanyang had already raised the sword over her head. MC noticed this and turned around, but he didn't even have to do anything. Hansu pierced his sister's body. He said it was unfair. She wants to take all the praise for herself again? He won't allow it. Having lost the last of his strength, he collapsed to the floor with a smile, and his sister let out her last breath and collapsed after him. Mara's children died, but she wasn't the least bit sad about it. She screamed furiously that he was a stupid idiot. He had so ineptly missed his last chance. Raviz noted that he had repeated, "Mom, Mom," so much and yet had died so absurdly. Mara began to beg him again. She would not touch this girl. She would move on to another body. She and his mother had once been like sisters. He doesn't believe her? It's true, let him ask her. She called her sister and treated her so well. Street said with disgust that her children had died and that she thought only of herself until the very end. Was she really their mother? She replied that they could give birth to as many as they wanted and continued to persuade Raviz, but he immediately cut her only tentacle and she wheezed. After that, her head collapsed, and MC said that he felt sorry for the reputation that one of the 12 Dark Barons had. Mara tried to say something, but only a wheeze came out of her mouth, and she thought, how dare he humiliate her? This Inez's child did this to her? She won't admit it. She'll kill him. But it was too late. He stepped on her head, and she turned into a shapeless mass of slime. He watched the slime spread across the floor. Then Mara's energy rose and entered his eye every drop, nourishing him with new strength. After that, he exhaled and thought that it was finally over. Street approached him and noted that he had finally managed it, and he looked at his demonic hand and thought that, after all, it was one of the 12 Black Barons. The power was gushing. He took a handkerchief from his pocket and pressed it to his nose, saying that there was such a disgusting and vile stench in here. He was sorry for the waste of time. Street looked at the dead twins with pity and asked if Mara hadn't infiltrated the human world. Would they have lived happily with their real mother? He replied that they wouldn't know. Even if the parents weren't demons, children could still die because of their greed. Meanwhile, Jaehi peeked out from behind a column and thought with a smile that everything worked out. It was time for her to leave. Raviz immediately turned to her and called out to her, causing her to panic and quickly hide. He said that he saw her and let her come out. She sheepishly asked him to pretend he hadn't seen her, and he sighed heavily, saying her name, Beltia. Hearing this, Street was greatly surprised and said that Beltia was a famous weaponsmith with an ancient history in the demon world. The youngest daughter of the Murtano family, basked in love and adoration. The very same Lady Beltia, who was called a genius in weaponry, born once every 3,000 years. MC asked why she was tagging along, and she ran out from hiding, saying that Bonbei had told her she was a gift for Lord Ravis. The surprise was a success, so it was time for her to go. She jumped out the window and disappeared, and Street looked after her in surprise and said that she was the most flighty and arrogant of all the noble maidens, and also known as Lord Ravis's stalker. But her face was definitely like Jin Jaehi's, wasn't it? He gritted his teeth in irritation and asked, "And what do you think is wrong?" Bonbi, that idiot, probably placed Beltia's soul into Jin Jaehi's body. Everything was becoming too troublesome. He cursed and said that when they returned to the demon world, he would hand Banbei over to her. She could boss him around as she pleased. She looked surprised, saying for the sake of decency that she wouldn't dare, and then enticingly asked for how long. He told her that he would serve her forever. Meanwhile, Varkan was delightedly telling his sister about what had happened. He told her that he was so surprised. He just went and drank her blood like that. His nephew is all like him. She remarked that it was so cruel and asked what Raviz did next. He told her that using the power he absorbed, he cut off her tentacles, trampled her head, and basically everything like that. He closed his eyes and waved his hands, saying that it was so cruel, he couldn't tell anymore. She smiled and said that she felt so sorry for poor Mara, and he said that if she was happy, then she should react normally and not just twitch the corner of her lips. She said irritably that she was not happy. Let him stop using Raviz in his games. They executed Mara, who escaped to the human world. That was quite enough. Because of her good-for-nothing son in the human world, she cannot live a day in peace. He noted that the tea they were drinking was sent by the Reuter family. He heard that it was a rare delicacy, and until now she drank it calmly. She took another sip and told him that one had nothing to do with the other, and he said that he was just joking. Now that Raviz can use his true power, she has nothing to worry about. Let her relax and finish her tea. She turned a suspicious gaze on him and asked, He, Banbei and Gamudere, what were the three of them planning? He immediately became agitated and swore to her that the great demon king knew nothing, and she asked if he thought Banbei could have placed the bloodstone in Ravis's body without the king's knowledge. Suddenly, her eyes widened with a sudden thought, and she jumped up and exclaimed, "Does he want to use her son to catch Morgath?" He happily confirmed this, and then she pounced on him and began to strangle him, screaming that she would kill him. He coughed and excitedly exclaimed that Ravis himself wanted to catch him. Could an uncle ignore his nephew's wishes? She sank her teeth into him, saying that she should have finished him off 1,000 years ago, and he screamed that it hurt. At this time, Banbei was sitting and calmly drinking tea. He glanced at them and thought that they say that brother and sister are enemies from a past life who wished each other death, and then were reborn and met again. He put down the cup of tea and thought, Morgath is the one who commands death, the god of destruction, turning all existence into nothingness. When the wind of death blows, the heavens, the demon world, and the human world will go out one after another. He is a cruel strategist who wants to devour the human world and rebuild the demon world. Wherever he is now, let him wait a little longer. Ravis is already on his way. By this time, he had already returned Mina home and laid her on the bed. After observing her for a while, he mentally turned to Minnow and said that he had repaid the debt for providing him with a body. Suddenly, the door to the room swung open, and Taisik shouted that she should be at the training center. What the hell is she doing lying here? Juhi ran up to her worriedly and asked her son, "What's going on here?" The MC lied to her about getting hurt during rehearsal, and Taisik shouted in rage, "How could they let this happen to a future star? Is this his doing? Did they both conspire to frame him?" Juhi exclaimed, "How can he say such a thing?" He responded by saying that they were both against Minha becoming an idol. Every time Minha was written about online, commentators praised him. Did they do this because they were sick of reading such things? He turned to the secretary and ordered him to get his phone and take a picture of her. They'll say it was all because of the stalker. Then they'll get even more attention and sympathy. Isn't that right? Ravis looked at him with irritation and thought that this idiot had completely lost his mind. He wanted to say a few words to him, but Juhi did it for him. She started yelling and ordered him to stop. Does he even see what's happening to the child? He turned a furious gaze on her, and she said that at first she believed that he would be a good father for them. But as soon as her dad died, he got his hands on her entire inheritance and used her family connections in his election campaign. It wasn't enough for him, so now he's using Minna? She's had enough. He exclaimed that he took in a woman who was crazy about a poor idiot, ran away from home, and had children. Doesn't she remember how her father begged him to take care of them and promised eternal gratitude? She drove her ex-husband crazy, and now she's taking on him? They are all ungrateful brats. Watching him, MC thought that every word that came out of his mouth stunk. Can this creature really be called a human? His patience was running out. It's a shame that the human world has a ban on murder, but a few broken bones wouldn't hurt. And then suddenly, Juhi called him scum and ordered him to shut his mouth. Ravis looked at her in surprise, and Taisik exclaimed in rage, "What did she just say?" She said that she endured only for the sake of the children, did not want to traumatize them again. She could not let them lose their father a second time. A hypocrite like him aims for mayor? This is simply ridiculous. He hissed through clenched teeth that this fool has completely lost her mind, and she declared that she is no longer a puppet in his hands. From now on, she will be the hand that closes around his throat. MC calmed down. He considered her only a weak person, but now she reminds him so much of his mother. Taisik was very angry, but he could not do anything, and so he only screamed loudly. Meanwhile, at the US military facility, Fort Valcher, in the Middle East, the demon killed everyone at the base, leaving only one soldier, and was now examining the control panel. He asked, "Where should I press here? There are too many buttons." The soldier, his voice filled with alarm, asked him not to touch the launch button. If the missiles were launched, thousands of innocent people would die. The demon's hand hovered over the red button. He considered for a moment, then pressed it and asked, "Isn't that what missiles were made for?" Immediately after, a red warning flashed on the main screen. "Attention, missile strike protocol initiated." The soldier panicked, exclaiming, "What the hell is he doing? Who the hell is he?" He told him he was the devil, and he stared at him in shock. Then he turned to him and said that he would spare his life, so he should go and tell his people that Morgath had done it. Soon, the missile was in the airspace of an Arab state. A mother and child stared in shock at the bright dot in the sky, and her son joyfully pointed his finger at it, after which a powerful explosion occurred, claiming many lives. Morgath watched the result from a military facility. Seeing the explosion on the screen, the soldier cursed, and Morgath ordered his servant Shuya to bring him the fragment. His servant disappeared as quickly as he appeared, and he wondered why people spend so much time and money to create such a beauty if they just hide it later. What a pity. But thanks to this, he found the fragment just by lifting a finger. The next day came. Ravis met with Xion and told him that Juhi was divorcing her husband. They say that if she divorces Jong Taisik like this, she will no longer be able to return the family's money. Under no circumstances can this be allowed. To live comfortably in the human world, they need money. He would gladly finish off this idiot right now, but it is forbidden. He ordered Xion to find a way to return the money, and he asked in surprise how he will do it. He said that he is the smartest person of all he knows, and he noted that he does not know any other people besides his family and himself. MC said that he shouldn't underestimate himself. He created the app that monitors all the traffic of that thing. Xion immediately shut his mouth and asked, "Is he crazy? You can't talk about such things here." He waved him off, telling him to take his hand away. How dare he touch him? By the way, how much longer do they have to choke on this swill? It's time for them to leave, but first, they will deal with this girl. He looked at the pink bear that had been wandering near the cafe all this time and told Beltia to return to the demon world. She pretended it wasn't her and ran to hand out leaflets, and Shion said that it seemed like she didn't hear him at all. He told him that she doesn't talk to him face to face. He asked, she's a genius blacksmith, right? What is his connection with her anyway? When Beltia was still in her mother's womb, the great demon king gave her father an unquenchable flame. She was born in a forge and consigned to the fire before she could even open her eyes. Her father raised his hands, telling her to burn in the flames bestowed by the great king, that these flames would show her the path she must follow. The fire consumed her flesh. The whole world seemed crimson. She felt very hot. When she grew up, they came to the king, and her father said that the promised creation was finally complete. This is the Maw of Cositus, which absorbs the false oaths of traitors, turning them into punishment of icy shards. It is a work of art in which pain is elevated to the absolute, a masterpiece created by the genius of the Murtano family. The king told him that his youngest daughter's boasting would not be egregious, even if it sheltered the entire demon realm. Looking at this work, he understands that this is well-deserved. The Maw of Cositus will become a masterpiece that will forever go down in the history of the demon world. The skill of the young talent can truly be called the greatest. After this, he sighed heavily and said that he envied him, because he was raising such a genius as Beltia, while his son brought him nothing but headaches. The count said that his majesty's words weighed heavily on his heart as well. Gamadair told him not to pay attention to it. It was just an old man grumbling. He gratefully accepted his gift, and from now on, the future of the demon world's weaponry would be in the hands of the Murtano family. Afterwards, they left, and the count asked his daughter if she had heard. The great demon king had praised her creation highly. She was their family's greatest masterpiece. Then, Ravis's indignant voice was heard from ahead. He told his mother to let him go, and she exclaimed that she had told him to train his self-control. If the one destined to be the next demon king only turns the noble lands into seas of blood, what will happen next? Does he want to exterminate every demon in the kingdom? The royal seat is only for forgiveness and generosity. He exclaimed, what forgiveness and generosity? Such things only humiliate the honor of the great demon king. The demon king should know no mercy. Ines squeezed him tighter and exclaimed that she should give him to his merciless uncle. Begging for forgiveness would give him nothing. He growled in displeasure, saying he hated Uncle Varkan. That's when Beltia first met Prince Ravis. Years passed. Her father called her a masterpiece, and the flames inspired her to become an alchemist. She spent 300 years in the forge, manipulating fire, creating weapons, and exploring every possible form of transmutation. One of her maids exclaimed that it was unfair. Corey had eaten 3 of the demon fruits given to them by the count, and sent her to clean the stables. Corey exclaimed that she had said it wasn't on purpose. She thought she should have cleaned them, otherwise Lord Tenton would have hung her from the ceiling. She pouted resentfully and said that even so, she could have eaten 2 out of the 4 out of politeness. Beltia said she could eat her share. That would be fair. Corey was indignant and said that that was yesterday, and today she hadn't had a bite to eat. Could she have one and Juan too? Beltia allowed her to do so without any problem, and then Juan hugged her and asked why the count had never brought such a sweet and lovely girl out into the world. Keeping her locked up in the forge forever was so cruel. She said that her father had promised that as soon as he ascended the Black Throne, she would be able to leave this place, and Corey happily said that she hoped that day would come soon. They would definitely go to the king's castle, so that she could meet Prince Ravis. At the mention of his name, she immediately broke into a smile. For her, Locked in the Forge, the life story of the servants, their jealousy and friendship, stories of love, were the only book that made her feel alive, until the day of suffering came. She was born in the forge, and her whole life was spent within its walls, as if in a dungeon. As time passed, and as she learned the secrets of the demon world's alchemy, her magical power grew, but she gradually began to lose control of it. One day, while she was working on a new weapon, magic took over her body, and she screamed loudly, her flames beginning to scorch her. Her maids immediately rushed toward her in concern, and she waved her hand at them, warning them not to come closer. She accidentally fired a blast of flame at them, and their loud screams were heard. The flames instantly engulfed them, leaving only bones, and when Beltia realized what she had done, she burst into tears. Time flowed like molten metal, only intensifying the heat. Her flames, blazing ever more furiously, melted them completely. She fell to her knees before their remains and screamed loudly. From that day on, demons deprived of magical power did not dare even approach her forge. One day, the count visited her and told her that she had now become the embodiment of flame. Then she said that she could no longer stay here. She wanted to leave. He immediately became angry and exclaimed, "What is she talking about? She must not leave here under any circumstances. What if someone kidnapped her? What would happen to their clan then? Their clan had finally taken its place among the 12 Black Barons. Or does she want innocent demons like Corey and Juan to die again?" At the mention of them, she shuddered and told him that it was not so. She would not leave here, no matter what. The count smiled, satisfied with her reaction. In that moment, Beltia was completely alone. Decades had passed since then, and the scrolls with orders left at the forge's threshold became her only connection with the living world. Her memories became like a pile of scrap metal, and the evidence of her existence turned to ash. And when the very meaning of her life began to fade, something happened. One rainy night, Raviz and Bombay snuck into the forge. His friend was unhappy as always and cursed, asking why he even followed him. Because of him, he was completely wet. MC told him to stop whining. He, the future great demon king, needs a worthy weapon, but his father is still stubborn, saying that it is too early for him. What should he do? They say that you just have to voice your wish here, and the local alchemist will fulfill it exactly. He has to try it. Banbei asked what weapon he wants. He answered that he wants the most flawless sword in the whole world, so he should look for it quickly. What is the name of this alchemist? They both walked through the forge, completely oblivious to Beltia, who is now looking at them in bewilderment. And Banbei said that he only knows from rumors, so he is not sure. I think his name is Beltia. Ever since this genius appeared in the Murtano family, famous for their torture instruments, they have occupied one of the 12 black thrones, so he is definitely not an easy alchemist. They are now supplying weapons to all the inhabitants of the Demon Lord's castle. He decided to joke about Ravas and said that he was an exception, and he irritably ordered him to shut up. And what is all this worth? He wants to see him quickly. He is interested in what he is like. He looked around and asked where he was even hanging out. The heat here is unbearable. Meanwhile, Beltia stood and was silent. She looked closely at the young man and thought, is this Prince Ravas? Are they really looking for her? She is, after all, a genius alchemist from the Murtano family. She nervously and embarrassedly pursed her lips, mentally asking them to look here. That very alchemist is right in front of them. And then MC finally noticed her and asked, who the hell is she? How long has she been standing here? Has she seen a genius alchemist here? She was shocked that Prince Ravas himself addressed her, and Banbei got worried and told Ravas to leave here. If they were found out, it would be the end for them. He asked, he says that they can't be found out and he calls him by name? Is he even thinking with his head? It's too late. Beltia shyly told them her name and said that she is the very alchemist. Banbei was surprised and exclaimed, such a small thing and already an alchemist? It can't be. According to rumors, he should look like a terrible monster. They said that ordinary demons burn alive from one look from him. She was surprised that they were spreading such rumors, and MC came closer to her and said that it turned out that she's just a small girl. That's why you can't trust rumors. If she really is Beltia, can she make them a sword? She stared at him in surprise, and a brilliant chain of thoughts flashed through her head. Small means cute, and cute means beloved. In that case, he just called her cutie. To keep from letting out an enthusiastic cry, she immediately covered her mouth, and then embarrassedly said that she could make him a sword. He was very happy and asked what she needed for this, and she answered him that since the materials would have to be melted in the flame, she needed his soul. This seemed doubtful to him, and he asked if he needed to burn his soul. He didn't want the sword that much. She said that he just had to open up to her, and she would see everything, his soul, his mana, his path. He asked how she was going to see it, and she told him that she would simply continue to watch. For the sake of Ravis, who looked at her with warmth for the first time in his life, she vowed to use all her knowledge to create the sword. From that day on, in order to watch him, she plucked up her courage and left the walls of the forge. She overcame her fear, all for him. She began observing his every training session, and finally she saw it, that jawline, the hollows above his collarbones that you could drown in. She saw it, and that's why she was completely delighted. She had been watching Ravis for a long time. He had suspicions that someone was following him, but he did nothing to stop it. Beltia devoted all her time to creating a sword worthy of his soul, and after a long time, she finally created the perfect weapon. A sword capable of merging with Ravis's soul, Damrakal. She finally created a weapon exclusively for him, a sword into which she put all her knowledge. But a new problem arose. She finished the sword, but how could she give it to Ravis now? She was so ashamed. What if he didn't like it and hated her? What should she do then? Suddenly, the door to the forge swung open loudly. MC called out to her with displeasure and told her to give him his sword. How much time had passed? How much longer would she just watch? 100 years had already passed. She was very scared by his unexpected arrival and thought, what if the sword disappoints him? What if he says that this piece of iron can't even cut out a monster's tongue? What if he gets angry? What will happen to her then? He calmed down, took a deep breath, and extended his hand to her, saying that he was leaving tomorrow to purge the Zyoganon traitors, so he came to ask her to give him the sword today. She looked at him in surprise and thought, did he say he came to ask her? Does that mean he's begging her? Realizing how desperately he wanted this sword, she was delighted, after which she took Damrakal from the table and put it in his hands, and then happily ran away and hid. He was very happy that the sword was finally ready, and while he was looking at it, she cowered in fear, hiding under the table, and thought that she had finally given it to him. As she thought, he was silent, which meant that she was finished. She was so afraid, what if he scolded her? But contrary to her expectations, he said that this sword was terribly good. The balance of the blade was simply perfect. It accepts his magic as its own. Tomorrow, with this sword, he will wipe everyone out. What did she call it? She was slightly confused and answered him that it was the Lord of the Bloody Dead, Damrakal. He admiringly remarked that it sounded wonderful and waved her goodbye, saying that he would never forget what she had done for him, and then left. She looked after him in surprise and thought, he will never forget her? Does that mean he said he will always look only at her? This brought her complete delight. Then she felt it for the first time. She thought how good it was to burn in flames immediately after birth. She wished with all her heart that her path, born in fire, belonged only to him. Then she swore that she, too, would always look only at him, that they would be together for eternity. But she must not touch him. She did not want to hurt him with her flames at all, because she could not let him burn and disappear. Shion was told this story, Now he understood what happened, and Ravi said that in some places, of course the story is only approximate, but overall the gist is true. But why doesn't he look at her? He answered him that Jaehee's face gives him PTSD, and Beltia meanwhile was delighted that she was so close to Ravis. She holds on only because it's not her face, but she is still so ashamed. MC told his servant that he wanted to ask her something, so he should hurry up. He turned to Beltia and said that he was curious about something. It seems that after that shot, something is wrong with his body. He was so excited, as if he was almost crazy, and he is not that kind of person at all. Since then, his heart sometimes pounds like crazy, his vision goes blurry, he breaks out in a cold sweat, it is hard to breathe, and anxiety rolls over him. Her face immediately became serious, and she said that she knows what it is. He looked up at her in surprise and exclaimed, was he really under the influence of magical power? She told him it was just a panic attack. He looked at her in shock and tired, not understanding if she was serious. And she said that he definitely had panic attacks. The symptoms were identical, and he also had a split personality. He got upset and asked, isn't this a side effect of synchronizing with demonic power due to the fact that his body is compatible with the weapons of the demon world? She asked, what kind of nonsense is he talking about? It's a panic attack, so let him go to the doctor. They will prescribe him pills and everything will pass. Because of her words, he became very upset, and Ravis mockingly noted that he is a master of both low self-esteem and megalomania at the same time. Is it because of a split personality? He said that he is too cruel. After all, he had hope. Beltia said that all souls in the world have unique energy. This energy is different for celestials, humans, and demons. If the body that contains this energy disappears, then the soul disappears with it. Shion asked, is this all she sees? She confirmed it. She sees the soul of the one who orders the weapon. She determines what energy the soul she sees needs and creates a perfectly suitable weapon for it. But she only complements the soul's energy. She cannot change or create it anew. That's why it is so important to accurately understand the customer's soul. He asked, so his joy at receiving the gun was because the weapon suited his alternate personality. She confirmed it. The energy of the alternate personality he didn't even know he had burst forth, and she simply made a gun that suited it perfectly. He hung his head dejectedly and said that he never imagined such a personality was hidden within him. MC noted that she was surprisingly talkative today, which immediately made her blush and put the bare head back on, exclaiming that she had had enough. She only lasted this long because she wasn't in her real body. They'd been together for too long, so she had to go. He asked discontentedly, where was she going? She was annoying him, so let her go back to the demon world. She immediately turned to him and exclaimed that she didn't want this. He had promised her that they would be together forever, so she would stay with him forever. After that, she screamed in embarrassment and ran away, saying in the end that she didn't know anything, and Shion turned a puzzled look to Ravas and asked, is that what he tasted like? He irritably told him not to talk nonsense. He didn't say that. After that, he clicked his tongue and said that it was all because of that idiot Banbi. He looked up to the sky and shouted, isn't he looking at him and smiling right now? Let him come here and show himself to him. Suddenly, Banbi appeared behind him and said that he was already here. This came as a big surprise to him. He immediately jumped up from his seat and turned to him, exclaiming, did he really appear? Was he also condemned? He answered him that he was not like him. He was here as an official envoy. After that, he hugged Shion and said that he was glad to welcome his fellow bespectacled guy. Brainy guys like them needed to be around thick-headed people like him to survive. Shion awkwardly greeted him, saying that he had heard of him, and he happily said that a friend of his friend was his friend, so let him communicate with him without formalities. MC was indignant and exclaimed, why on earth was he his friend? He was a traitor. Banbei asked, did he still not understand anything? Did he even think about why they sent him to the human world? He answered him that it was all because he was a sinner, and he asked why they gave him the bloodstone. He answered him that they probably wanted to suck up to the son of the great demon king. Banbei asked if he ever thought with his head. He replied that he was simply stating a fact, and Banbei, looking tired, said that there was nothing he could do then. Let him continue to dwell on facts and die in this human body. He became indignant and immediately began asking him what they were planning, and he asked if he remembered Morgath, who had long been imprisoned in the human world. He began to act. Ravaz's face immediately became serious, and Banbei said that he was going to carry out the reverse creation of Surkal in order to destroy the heavens, the human world, and the demon world. Meanwhile, in the gambling house, someone named Namuja was playing the slot machine, but he lost again and slammed the machine in anger, shouting that he had wasted 3 days on it. Let it give him the money immediately. Bauer approached him and asked him to pull himself together, after which he handed him a few coins and said that there was not much here, but it was still enough for the game. Namuja thanked him and said he didn't know who he was, but once he hit the jackpot, he'd pay him back twice as much. He then used the coins, pulled the lever, and watched the reels spin in anticipation of the jackpot. Bauer said he actually needed to tell him something, and at that moment the reels stopped, but he didn't win, even though he was close. His neighbor, however, had much better luck and won the jackpot. Namuja looked at him furiously and was about to snap his fingers, when Bauer said that Ravaz was now imprisoned in the human world. Namuja looked at him and snapped his fingers, causing the slot machine to explode and the man's clothes to catch fire. While everyone ran to help him in a panic, they both headed for the exit, and he said that the jackpot always goes to anyone but him. Let him tell him more. He said Ravaz is imprisoned here? Bauer confirmed this excitedly and grinned, thinking, didn't he himself order everyone to know he's back? So he reported this to Lord Namuja. Meanwhile, Banbei told Ravi's everything, and he summed it up. So the three of them conspired and sent him here to stop Morgath. But isn't he in his own body? So they locked him in this fragile human body and sent him to deal with it? Banbei answered him that he wasn't really a demon now either. He'd been locked here for several hundred years. However, during this time, he seemed to have managed to restructure his body, becoming something of a demon-human hybrid. Shion asked, so he can freely use demonic power, human energy? That's why they modified Ravi's with a demonic bloodstone, just like Morgath himself. Banbei patted him on the head and showed that he was quite a smart guy. People like him never let him down. MC asked, why him? He answered that he was the only one in the entire demon world who was capable of handling him. But if he, the offspring of the great demon king, were to go to the human world through official means, it would give the heavens the perfect excuse to start a war. That's why they resorted to trickery, imprisoning him in a human body. This lets heaven know that they have nothing to do with it. He asked discontentedly, why didn't he tell him about this right away? He asked in response, if he had told him about this in advance, would he have descended in a human body? He would have been hysterical that he was not going anywhere. MC nervously clenched his teeth and remained silent, because he was right, and asked, so he wants him, as a modified prisoner, to stop Morgath, save the human world, and prevent a war between heaven and the demon world? If an army of demons descends into the human world, heaven will consider it an attack and will also descend, so there will be no reinforcements? Banbei noted that he has become smarter since he understands such complex things. Even though he is the first person they tested the demon bloodstone on, they did everything clearly better than Morgath, so he should not worry. He asked discontentedly, and he is supposed to believe it? Banbei asked, what is wrong with him? He is his friend, Banbei. He threw his arm over Shion's shoulder and said that besides, he had already absorbed Mara's power and he had a friend to help. He pointed out that he hadn't actually said he would help, and Ravas angrily asked, did his father abandon him? Did his uncle say he was tired of him, and he betrayed him and decided to become the demon king himself? He jumped up from his chair and exclaimed, what nonsense was he talking about? How was he supposed to kill Morgath in such a body? He answered him that, in fact, he had already sent him reinforcements. Beltia. He couldn't do it? Was he scared? These words outraged him, and Banbei started laughing at him, calling him a cowardly brat, and he clenched his teeth in rage, then slammed his palms on the table and exclaimed, did he dare him with these cheap provocations? Why couldn't he handle it? He would finish off that idiot Morgath with his own hands. Banbei continued to egg him on, telling him to try, let him risk his life, aka Ravas. He exclaimed that of course he could do anything, and Shion looked at him in shock and thought, is he really that stupid? MC asked, since when is Beltia reinforcements? She pisses him off, and since he is here, he should take her with him. He answered him with a serious expression that the safest place for her now is next to him. He didn't understand what he meant, and he asked, did he forget what Murtanos are? Now he understood what he was talking about, and at that very moment a letter appeared on the table out of nowhere, and Shion asked, what the hell is that? A hologram of the Joker card appeared from the seal, which told him that he was invited as a VIP guest. The inviter was Lord Namuja. Ravi's asked, didn't that idiot escape from prison? Banbei was surprised that the fugitive decided to show up on his own, told him to deal with it himself, and he was leaving, since the messenger's time was limited. He patted Shion on the shoulder and suggested that he press the seal, and he reached his finger towards it, asking, is this what he's talking about? Seeing this, MC rushed to him in a panic, telling him not to press it. But it was too late. As soon as his finger touched the seal, they were both sucked into this letter with their terrified screams, and Banbei wished them good luck as a parting gift. They found themselves in a casino. Ravas exclaimed in displeasure that he had told him not to touch anything. His head was already splitting because of Jong Taesik, and now they were in some kind of hole. Shion looked around and asked, if they win money here, will they be able to take it to the real world? He asked displeasedly. Does he have a split personality again? What money, anyway? Their lives are at stake here, so he should pull himself together and stay close. Just one chip could cost him his head. His words scared Shion and pressed closer to him, and he began to warily glance around the room. Meanwhile, Street, in the form of a rat, was hiding in the ventilation with a phone with the camera turned on, closely watching someone. She is a jailer in the human world, watching over the condemned demons, carefully monitoring everything. She was proud that they cannot slip through her fingers. However, after meeting Lord Ravas, she cannot properly monitor the prisoners. So, next after Mara is him. Right now, she was watching Tusik. Ravas ordered her to get him everything, the account number and the safe combination. She could not imagine that the overseer of prisoners in the human world would be sorry to wait for the password to be entered. Meanwhile, Tusik was nervously biting his nails and said that in a week, they would start calling her the wife of the mayor of Incheon. And now what? Is she keeping him on a leash? She's just an impudent woman. Maybe she really does have some evidence? An excited secretary ran into his office and informed him that the results of the latest polls had changed dramatically. He immediately snatched the tablet from his hands, and seeing the results, cursed loudly. His competitor's popularity had skyrocketed. Secretary Kim said that it looked like the accident with the Haemyeon construction worker led to a drop in his ratings. He exclaimed that in fact, he himself had tripped and died. What did this have to do with him? He smashed the tablet on the floor in a rage, exclaiming that everything was under control, and then this. The secretary looked down and said he was very sorry. Thanks to Minna, they were leading the polls. Taesik pursed his lips and an idea occurred to him. Maybe he should get rid of them all at the same time? He called Director Hong, greeted him cheerfully, and said he he had contacted him about the construction site for the transfer hub at Incheon Station. If he became mayor, his company Haemyeon wouldn't be able to take over the project. He thought he was perfect for the job. Hong asked what he should do in return, and he laughed, saying that they were partners after all. How could he keep track of favors? Well, if anything, he was a couple of votes short. He wanted to appeal to the voters' pity. Could he help him with that? He successfully negotiated with him about it, and ended the call, mockingly saying that this thug had risen significantly. Still, he was the director of a construction company. He understood everything instantly. He turned to the secretary and asked where Juhi was now. He replied that she had gone to the hospital with Manhua, and he grinned and remarked that luck was on their side. Let him find out exactly where they are and send the coordinates to Director Hong. From then on, he will take care of everything himself. Street was very worried when she learned that Minna and her mother were in danger, and immediately ran to the exit from the ventilation, deciding to immediately inform Ravis about everything. Meanwhile, Beltia finally finished her work. She took off her suit and sat down on a bench, saying that she was so hot, she would have been better off forging weapons over a fire. Suddenly, Binbei appeared behind her and asked what she was doing here. She was scared for a second, and then called him an idiot and grabbed his clothes, exclaiming that she was already on edge. It was very lucky that she ran into him. He smiled and asked why everyone became so nervous as soon as they entered the human world. She burst into tears and exclaimed in rage, why did he send Ravis to a rich house and put her in the body of some beggar? She has to work around the clock to somehow survive. But that's not all. As soon as she walks around with her face uncovered, some psychos immediately try to kill her. Everyone is constantly running after her, screaming about some blue bow and asking her to give them back their face, and she runs away from them in horror. She grabbed her head and exclaimed, who the hell is this girl? He said with an awkward smile that before she died, Jae-hee said that she only needed to find a purse of coins. Maybe he should have first let her find these coins, and only then instill her in her body. She asked, does he think you can live well on a purse of coins? He answered her that she just doesn't know everything yet, but her dream will come true. Isn't that great? She wiped away her tears and asked what dream he was talking about. He reminded her that she wanted to live for herself and not serve the clan, to do what she wanted. She touched her chest and thought about it, and he said that living here meant working only when she wanted to, but she could do whatever she wanted. She remained silent, and as soon as she turned her gaze to this bear, anger overwhelmed her again, and she grabbed his clothes, exclaiming that she had only been here for a short time, and already she was almost boiled alive inside this bear. She started shaking him, and he apologized to her. He was in a hurry. At that moment, it was the best decision. She should understand it herself. She threw him to the ground, exclaiming that she did not understand this, and he began to get up, rubbing his bruised lower back. After that, Beltia pursed her lips and clenched her fists, as if gathering courage, and asked what was wrong with her body. Did they grind it thoroughly? Bonbei stood up and seriously answered her that they ground everything perfectly. Not even a fingernail remained. He personally checked everything. She said that it probably hurt. It would have been better if they burned it. She was already used to this. Banbei regretfully said her name, and suddenly the worried voice of Street was heard behind him, asking why he was here. And was Jae-hee, or rather Lady Beltia, also here? Banbei noted that they hadn't seen each other in a while, and she immediately ran up to him and started shaking him, shouting a string of words. Password, hidden camera, his mother will die. He asked her to calm down and tell him everything in order, and she said that everything was bad. She was following him to find out the password to the Jong family account. Jong Tae-sik, in order to become mayor, is going to hit Lord Ravis's mother with a car. She herself heard him talking on the phone with a bandit. Beltia frowned and asked why he would become mayor if his wife was going to die. What was she even talking about? Somehow, Banbei understood everything and asked with equal excitement, did he want to kill his own wife for the votes of sympathetic voters? Would he believe it if it turned out he was a demon and not a human? Beltia was perplexed how he understood this, and Street looked around, saying that there was a hint of Lord Ravis here, but she couldn't find him anywhere. They needed to tell him everything immediately. Banbei remembered how they received the invitation and wanted to tell her about it, but since there was no time for that, he decided to do it himself, and asked if she knew where his mother was now. She answered that most likely she was somewhere near Lady Minha's hospital. Banbei said that then they should leave right now. Beltia will go with them. Meanwhile, Namuja finally appeared. He laughed and told Ravis that they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Just think, the noble prince of the demon world is now in the human world in the body of a sinner. He will gladly devour him. In the time that they haven't seen each other, he has fallen so low. High school student, what does this mean? MC said that since he sent him to prison, he should have repented and gotten back on the right path. Not only did he escape from prison, but he also caused this whole mess. Bauer peeked out from his hiding place and told Lord Namuja that the bastard was capable of using power even in a human body, so he should be careful. MC called out to him disapprovingly, and he laughed, saying that this time would be different. Namuja said that if he could use power, it was even better. They could play for high stakes. He hadn't won anything lately, and wasn't in a good mood. And now, he had such a big win. He threw a chip on the table and smirked, inviting him to place a bet. Namuya, a former executioner from the demon world, possessed the power to erase the existence of condemned sinners without a trace. Even the most ferocious demons, those who resisted execution and showed resistance in his presence, didn't even dare to think about escape, obediently prostrating themselves. One day, Bezra Kurenai was brought to him for execution. He is accused of forcibly absorbing a lesser demon, using a forbidden symbol of blood kinship, and performing a blood-mixing ritual without permission. In accordance with Articles 47, 89, and 131 of the Demon World's Code of Laws, he is sentenced to death right here and now. Bezra indignantly called out to him, asking, "He can't do this to him, can he? That's not right." He broke free from his shackles and rushed towards him, exclaiming, "How dare he take his life?" He directed demonic energy at him, calling him nothing but a pathetic executioner, and he lunged forward and carried out the sentence. Namuja was always fast and precise, but most importantly, he felt nothing, and this was a huge advantage for an executioner. But at some point, he got bogged down in the filth called gambling. He became fixated on probabilities, luck, bets, and other nonsense. He began to confuse his power with the game. In front of those whose just sentence had already been passed, he threw the dice instead of immediately executing them. If he won, the condemned man died. If the condemned man won, he spared his life. This was the pride of one who held lives in his hands. He began to commit madness, entrusting decisions of life and death to blind luck. He threw the dice and told the condemned woman that if she rolled a higher number than him, she would remain alive. She began to pray with tears in her eyes. Fortunately, he rolled a low number, and he said she had every chance. He shoved the dice into her mouth and said it was her turn to throw it properly. She gathered her strength and spat them out. Her number was 6, one more than his. Her eyes widened with delight, and he scratched his head in confusion, saying that he was only one short. He ordered his assistant Rousseau to untie her, and she excitedly thanked him for his mercy. He said that she had saved her worthless life thanks to a 1 on the die. She was lucky. He released prisoners if he lost, and if he won, he laughingly chopped off their heads, and he called all this luck. Then he sank even lower. To fully enjoy games where life was at stake, he forced the weak and defenseless to play, those who did not even know the rules of this world. One of these condemned was a boy named Rei Raikun, who used the dimensional gate without permission and disobeyed orders, for which he was sentenced to imprisonment and the deprivation of demonic powers for 100 years. Namuja read the sentence and said that perhaps because children are cowardly these days, they don't give out harsh punishments anymore. It's so boring. He placed a card in front of him and told him to play with it. The rules were simple. He turned over the card, and if the number came up higher than his punishment would be cancelled. But if he lost, he would die. This was a great chance, right? The boy fearfully said that it was okay. He would accept the punishment. And then Namuja grabbed him by the hair and said that he should have refused before he committed the crime. Let him turn over the card immediately. He did everything for him. The boy's card showed the number 4 and his 7. Rejoicing at his victory, he laughed loudly, and the boy immediately burst into tears, exclaiming that he was simply curious about what the human world was like. He had just peeked into it. He would give him all his strength for the rest of his life. Let him just spare him. But Namuja immediately hit him in the neck, and with his last breath, the boy fell to the ground, and he said discontentedly that today's children lack fortitude. If he risked his life and played like a true demon, then let him have the courage to admit defeat and die. Let him blame himself for his unlucky luck. When a sinner loses a game, Namuja consumes him. Flesh, bones, fear, and even his very soul. Devouring the weak is taboo in the demon world, but he only enjoyed breaking the taboo. He ceased to be an executioner, turning into an insatiable predator, a monster addicted to gambling. One day, news of him reached Ravi's. Eventually, he was forced to intervene and punish him.